Chapter 784. You are the disciple of the famous sword god. I wonder how I should address you? Tang Jing asked with a smile. Sword 13. The other party had already seen through his identity, so Sword 13 did not hide it anymore. So you're not a mute. Sword 13, 13 swords, it's very appropriate. Your sword technique is very strange, it's only 13 moves, but its power is boundless. Tang Jing praised. Sword 13 coldly snorted and said, Of course, this was created by Master. Tang Jing's eyes were filled with admiration. Although the sword god was an enemy, he had no choice but to sincerely admire his attainments in sword techniques. His disciples all had different sword techniques, but they were all created by him. Just this creativity was something that ordinary people could not compare to. A dignified disciple of the sword god actually appeared in the Song family, and Song Yu miraculously possessed a powerful sword technique. In that case, Song Yu is also a disciple of the sword god? Tang Jing, you've gone too far. Not only did you heavily injure junior brother Song, you've even killed your way to our door. As the eldest senior brother, how can I sit idly by? Sword 13 said angrily. So you're still the eldest senior brother. I've already met your other junior brother in Changbai Mountain. I wonder how many disciples the sword god has? Master has a total of 3 disciples, each of them is Sword 8, an expert in sword techniques, and has a unique comprehension of sword techniques. Tang Jing nodded and said, So it's 3 people. The sword god even took in a villain like Song Yu as his disciple. It seems like he's only SOSO. How dare you? How can Master allow you to insult him? Sword 13 roared with a flushed face, trying to resist, but with the War Soul sword pressed against his throat, he was unable to move. Why can't the sword god be insulted? Actually, I've always wanted to find him, but I didn't know where to find him, so you ran out. This is exactly what I wanted. Tang Jing smiled, like a big bad wolf. Sword 13's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly asked, Why are you looking for Master? To inquire about the Azure Dragon Palace. However, as his direct disciple and also the eldest senior brother, you must know some things about the Azure Dragon Palace. Why don't you tell me? Azure Dragon Hall. Sword 13's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly denied it. I don't know what you're talking about. Your reaction has already betrayed you. You definitely know about the Azure Dragon Palace. Are you going to tell me yourself? Or do you want me to force you to tell me? If I do, you will definitely suffer a lot. Jian Shisan raised his neck, as if he was a brave warrior that had sacrificed himself for a cause, and he said in an awe-inspiring and fearless manner, If you want to kill me, then do as you please. You want me to reveal information about the Azure Dragon Hall? Dream on. Is that so? Ha, I have my ways even if you don't tell me. Tang Jing was very confident. Jian Shisan was an enemy. Although his integrity was respectable, Tang Jing did not plan to be merciful. Jian Shisan was a grandmaster martial artist. If he were to let the tiger return to the mountain, then there would be no end of trouble. No matter what, he could not be soft-hearted. Moreover, Sword 13 even knew the information about the Azure Dragon Palace. If Tang Jing did not take away this information, then it would be even more impossible to find the Azure Dragon Palace. Jian Shisan glared fiercely at Tang Jing. He did not believe that the other party could pry open his mouth. Tang Jing's expression turned cold. He made a move like lightning and grabbed Jian Shisan's head. Jian Shisan exclaimed, What are you doing? Tang Jing immediately activated the soul-searching technique, and the information in his mind flashed before Tang Jing's eyes like a movie. Let me go, my head hurts. Jian Shisan roared in a heart-wrenching manner. The soul-searching technique had a side effect, which could cause people to become retarded. However, Jian Shisan's cultivation was deep and his perseverance was outstanding. He actually resisted the side effect and did not become a fool. Jian Shisan felt something in his heart and exclaimed, You're reading my brain. Tang Jing looked at him in surprise. He could even feel this. A grandmaster martial artist was indeed extraordinary. Don't even think about succeeding. The light in Jian Shisan's eyes exploded as he grabbed onto the War Soul sword. The War Soul sword pierced into his throat, cutting off his windpipe. The corner of Jian Shisan's mouth revealed a complacent smile, and he was already speechless. You actually committed suicide. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He was truly shocked. In order to preserve the information in his mind, Jian Shisan was actually willing to give up his life. Just what kind of organization was the Azure Dragon Palace to be able to nurture such a death warrior? Jian Shisan's eyes were completely devoid of life as he fell to the ground with a loud bang. A grandmaster of a generation, a great swordsman, ended his life just like that. Tang Zheng did not have time to sigh with emotion. The more the other party did this, the more he wanted to know more about the Azure Dragon Palace. If he did not know anything about the Azure Dragon Palace, then who knows when the other party would stab him in the back, and by then, it would be too late. He hurriedly sorted out the information he had searched. Although it was only a part of it, it had already enlightened him. Jian Shisan really does know a lot about the Azure Dragon Palace. Tang Zheng sighed. It turned out that the Azure Dragon Palace was an ancient organization that was created by New Era back then. It had been hundreds of years since then. When he thought of New Era, Tang Zheng couldn't help but think of the matter of him expelling the cultivators. New Era could be said to be at the peak of the martial artists, and from ancient times until now, he was the only one who had accomplished such a feat. Although the cultivators were expelled, New Era was not satisfied and secretly established the Azure Dragon Palace. At the beginning, there was only the Azure Dragon Palace, and they were responsible for hunting down some of the cultivators who had escaped the net. Furthermore, the Azure Dragon Palace had created a team of assassins that caused people to tremble at the mention of their name, Flying Guillotine. Many of the fish that had escaped the net had died at the hands of the Flying Guillotine, and their huge heads were hung on the city walls for public display. After several years of killing, all the cultivators in the world were finally wiped out. However, New Era did not give up. He had planned ahead and expected that there would definitely be cultivators in the future. After all, cultivators had left behind many cultivation techniques in this world. Therefore, he divided the Azure Dragon Palace into two branches, Martial Sect and Li Palace. The Martial Sect was responsible for killing the cultivators who had revived from the ashes, while the Li Palace was responsible for collecting information from all over the world. However, these two organizations were relatively independent existences. Other than a very small number of people who knew about the relationship between the two, no one else knew anything about it. As for the Azure Dragon Palace, it was completely hidden behind the scenes and only passed down in legends. Ordinary people would never be able to know anything about the Azure Dragon Palace. The master of the Azure Dragon Palace was called the Revered Lord, and even the Sword 13 did not know his true appearance. He had only seen him once from afar, and was extremely mysterious. Currently, there were a total of 4 great organizations under the Azure Dragon Palace: Martial Sect, Li Palace, Sword Pavilion, and the most mysterious Flying Guillotine. The Flying Guillotine had not appeared in the world for more than 100 years, and even the Sword 13 had only heard about it from the Sword God. However, it was said that the Flying Guillotine was the most mysterious power in the Revered Lord's hands, and every one of them had at least the cultivation of a great master martial artist. As for the exact number of people, the Sword 13 did not know, but without a doubt, how terrifying the killing power of a team formed by great master martial artists was. Immediately, Tang Zheng felt a chill run down his spine. So, there was such a terrifying force hidden in the land of Huaxia. As for the exact location of the Azure Dragon Palace, Tang Zheng was unable to find it. He could not help but feel extremely regretful. If he were to search through all the information in the Sword 13's mind, he would probably know even more secrets of the Azure Dragon Palace. Looking at the wide-eyed Sword 13 who had died with grievances, Tang Zheng shook his head and did not pay any more attention to him. He raised his head and looked at the vast Song family, then raised his voice and shouted, "Song Jianan, Song Yu, listen up, don't think that you can sit back and relax with the Sword God's protection. Today, if you don't come out and watch the Sword 13 die for you, I think the Sword God will be furious. There will be a day when you appear. At that time, not only me, even the Sword God will not let you off." The other servants and guards kept quiet out of fear. They looked around, but did not see the appearance of the Song Jianan grandfather and grandson. Tang Jing shook his head helplessly. No matter how he provoked them, there was nothing he could do if they were determined not to show themselves. As for the others, he did not plan to do anything. After all, he was not a bloodthirsty person. Although these people were members of the Song family, they did not deserve to die. Thus, he leaped and left the Song family as fast as lightning. In a hidden underground fortress, the backbone of the Song family gathered together in fear. Just now, the scene of Tang Jing causing a ruckus in the Song family had already been transmitted from various cameras. Seeing Tang Jing being so brave and extraordinary, and even the sword god's disciple, the Sword 13, committing suicide in the end, one could imagine the shock they received. Song Jianan stood with an ashen face, looking at Song Yu who was lying on the bed. Song Yu's body was wrapped in gauze, like a mummy. Song Yu's face was as pale as paper. Recalling the scene just now and the scene of the War Soul sword piercing his back, he could not help but tremble nonstop. This time, he was truly scared out of his wits by Tang Jing, especially when even his eldest senior brother, the Sword 13, whom he had always respected, was unable to escape from Tang Jing's hands, which made him shudder even more. The Sword 13 had practiced the sword since he was young, and was extremely hardworking. At the age of 30, he had already reached the first stage of the Grandmaster stage, and could be said to be a genius. Song Yu had already acknowledged the sword god as his master for more than 10 years, and had always kept it a secret. Other than Song Jianan, even his father did not know. Song Yu's potential was obviously not as good as the Sword 13's, but he could still be considered one of the best among the younger generation. Due to the restrictions of the sword god, he did not display his strength in front of others, and was even treated by many people as if he did not have the strength to truss a chicken. He had always been waiting for the day when he soared into the sky, causing everyone to be shocked and their jaws to drop. However, he did not wait for this day, but instead received this huge blow. Tang Jing's speed was like a ruthless slap to Song Yu's face, causing the complacency in his heart to vanish into thin air. Eldest senior brother is dead, what should we do now? Song Yu said in shock. The other backbone of the Song family kept quiet out of fear, no one dared to answer, and all looked at Song Jianan. Song Jianan muttered to himself in silence, staring at the corpse of the Sword 13. They only saw the scene of the previous battle but did not hear the conversation between the two. But in the end, they heard Tang Jing's loud roar clearly. Chapter 785. Song Jianan's expression kept changing as he looked at the guards and servants on the screen. With so many witnesses, even if he wanted to hide it, it would be very difficult. Kill them all. Song Jianan's eyes were filled with killing intent as he roared. When the others heard this, they jumped in fright. Family head, who do we kill? All of you, get out and kill everyone outside. Don't leave a single one alive. Song Jianan said with killing intent. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they looked at him in disbelief. Song Yu's heart skipped a beat as she guessed what the family head was thinking. She immediately urged, that's right, kill them. Then Shizhuan will only think that eldest senior brother died at Tang Jing's hands. Then all the responsibility will be placed on Tang Jing and our Song family will be able to stay out of this. The others weren't idiots and immediately understood. Their eyes also became fervent. Kill them all. Everyone cheered and jumped for joy. Song Jianan's eyes trembled as he shouted, then what are you still doing here? Hurry up and go. A moment later, the scene on the screen became particularly bloody. The guards and servants were completely unprepared and were all killed by the core members of the Song family. Blood dyed the ground red. Song Jianan clenched his fists, blue veins popping out. He gritted his teeth and said, Tang Jing, I will return all of this to you in the future. I will make you beg for death. In the Yen family, Tang Jing received a great welcome. Yen Qishan and Yen Luyun were at the door to welcome him. After Tang Jing left the Song family, he decided to go to the Yen family and tell them about the demon race so that they could prepare. The news of Tang Jing killing his way to the Song family had already spread. After all, the Song family was a big family. With such a big commotion, It was impossible to hide it. As a result, the entire capital was shaken. It was like a large earthquake. No one had ever dared to challenge an entire family by himself. This was something that no one had ever dared to do. However, Tang Jing had done it. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, there was no falsehood at all. The Yan family also knew this, so when they saw Tang Jing, the father and son looked a little strange. Tang Jing's strength had already far surpassed them, and was even comparable to the Yan family. Back then, who would have thought that Tang Jing would be able to reach this step so quickly? No one. As a result, the two of them admired the old man Yan Potion's decision from the bottom of their hearts. Ginger was indeed spicier as it got older. To bet everything on Tang Jing so early on, it was simply too wise, and many people were probably already extremely envious of him. It was foreseeable that after this battle, many people would take the initiative to offer their affection to Tang Jing in an attempt to obtain his appreciation or protection. In the past, although Tang Jing had gradually revealed his edge, in the hearts of the people, it was still difficult for him to contend against the few great families. But now, it was different from the past. His edge had completely overshadowed the few great families, and he was a new and powerful force. If he did not curry favor early, then he would be an idiot. As for whether or not they would offend the Song family, many people did not care. After all, Tang Jing's strength had already overshadowed the Song family, so what if the Song family had any objections? He still couldn't stir up any waves. Therefore, the Yan family attached great importance to Tang Jing's initiative to visit. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the two of them arrived at the guest hall together. Yan Padian had been waiting for a long time. Facing Yan Padian, Tang Jing was very modest. Yan Padian could not hide the joy in his eyes, and took the initiative to invite Tang Jing to sit at the seat of honor. Young Master Tang, everyone has witnessed your great generosity today. It's truly shocking. Yan Padian said emotionally. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I won't be merciful. Tang Jing said resolutely. Yan Padian nodded his head. Young heroes, it should be so. Song family has been jumping around a lot recently. After this battle, they can stop for a while. It's even better if they don't stop. Then they won't be cowards and I can find them. Tang Jing said hatefully. This time, Song Jianan did not come out, but let Sword 13 fight alone. In the end, Sword 13 died, but they still did not come out. They really are bastards. Hiding and not coming out? Yan Padian asked suspiciously, are you saying that old man Song Jianan did not appear, and instead let Sword 13 fight? That's right. The three people from the Yan family looked at each other with strange expressions. Tang Jing frowned and asked, is there something wrong? Yan Luyun took a deep breath and interrupted, young Master Tang, the rumors outside are completely different from this. Rumor has it that after a great battle, not only did you kill Sword 13, you also killed over 100 people from the Song family. The Song family can be said to be flowing with blood like a river, and corpses everywhere. What? Tang Jing jumped up from the sofa. Calm down. Seeing his big reaction, Yan Padian hurriedly advised. How could Tang Jing not be shocked? This was too different from the truth. Song family's intentions are sinister, to actually spread such an outrageous lie. Lies, isn't this true? The three people from the Yan family asked suspiciously. Tang Jing's expression turned cold and said, of course it's not true, only Sword 13 died, and it was suicide. Some of the other guards were only injured by me, and did not die. How could I have killed everyone? But the Song family's blood flowed like a river, and corpses were everywhere. All of the guards and servants were dead. Many people are saying that you are actually so cruel. Yan Luyun said. Cruel? Tang Jing was unable to restrain his anger, and laughed in anger. He did not kill a single person, but he was said to be cruel, and the Song family relied on their power to bully others. How many people died in their hands? Yan Padian hit the nail on the head. Since the rumors are far from the truth, then there must be something fishy going on. Then who killed these people? A thief calling out to catch a thief. Other than Song Jianan, who else could it be? Tang Jing sneered. Why did he kill so many people? Tang Zheng had an idea and said, I know, this is a framing, eliminating all the witnesses, and then pushing all of this onto me. Otherwise, if outsiders hear that the Song family is hiding and not coming out, wouldn't that be a joke to the world? Now, they have transferred a lot of their anger to me, while the Song family has played the role of a victim. More importantly, all of this is probably related to the death of Sword 13. Tang Zheng was very smart and immediately saw through the other party's scheme. This kind of framing trick was not clever, and one did not need to be too smart to see through it with a single glance. The other three people's hearts stirred, and they also guessed the reason and said, You're saying that those people were all killed by the Song family themselves and then blamed it on you, causing the sword god to vent his anger on you, and the Song family to completely disassociate themselves from it? Tang Jing nodded and said with a bit of a chill in his heart, So you can see how sinister and cunning the Song family is, and how unscrupulous they are. Yen Luyun sucked in a cold breath and said, To actually do such a thing to their own people, they are truly insane. Tang Zheng, your guess should be correct. Yen Patian said in a deep voice, The Song family has never been a benevolent dog generation. Back then, their ancestors relied on their ruthlessness and unscrupulous methods to make their fortune. It seems that their descendants have also inherited this point. But this is too cruel. He even did such a vicious thing to his own people and killed so many people. Yen Luyun said with lingering fear. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, was not surprised at all. He had even seen people who sacrificed tens of thousands of lives to activate the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array, so the Song family was nothing compared to them. Although the Song family is vicious, they have made contact with the Sword God, which is already powerful enough. The Sword God will definitely listen to their lies and aim his hair at you, young Master Tang. The Sword God is not like Song Jianan, so it will be troublesome when the time comes. Yen Qishan said worriedly. Yen Patian and Yen Luyun also nodded in agreement. The Sword God was too mysterious to them, so they naturally couldn't help but respect him. You don't have to worry. I've already clashed head-on with the Sword God. He's not that scary. Tang Zheng said indifferently, but he did not say the second half. He was not worried about the Sword God, but the Azure Dragon Palace behind him. When the three people from the Yen family heard this, they were once again greatly shocked. Tang Zheng had actually exchanged blows with the Sword God. Seeing him make such a solemn vow, the three of them had complicated feelings and said, But we can't let our guard down. Now, everyone knows that the Song family and the Sword God have an extraordinary relationship, and Song Yu is even the disciple of the Sword God. Although the Song family has gone through this great calamity and lost all face, no one dares to underestimate him, and the Song family will not fall immediately. The Song family revealing this information can be said to be killing two birds with one stone. They are truly old foxes. In the future, when they have nowhere to hide, I will definitely take care of them. Let's get down to business first. This time, I am here to warn you of one thing. The Demon Clan has already returned. Tang Zheng briefly told them about how the 100 Transformations Star Lord had used the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array to summon the Demon Clan back, as well as the country's countermeasures. The three of them were stunned at the same time. They did not dare to underestimate this news and hurriedly asked about the details of the Demon Clan. Tang Zheng told them everything he knew and answered them in detail. With the return of the Demon Clan, this world is about to suffer a calamity. Tang Zheng, your mission is here. A clear voice came from outside the living room. Yen Qingyi was still wearing a green Taoist robe, with her hair tied up in a bun and a hairpin inserted into it. She leisurely walked over without any makeup. My mission? What mission? Tang Zheng did not understand. The other three also looked at her in confusion. Yen Qingyi walked straight in front of Tang Zheng and said, The Demon Clan will destroy this world, and your mission is to turn the tide, save the people from hanging upside down, and return peace to the world, and return peace to the people. But Tang Zheng was stunned. You're the savior, Yen Qingyi added in a resolute tone. Yen Potion's expression was bewildered. Didn't Yen Qingyi say that he would not tell Tang Zheng about this prophecy back then? He was afraid that it would interfere with his decisions, So why did he suddenly say it out loud today? Tang Jing did not know whether to laugh or cry. He had never thought of being a savior, and he did not have such a high level of awareness. Furthermore, it was not that easy to be a savior. A savior often meant a great sacrifice. Wasn't that how it played in movies? Either the death of a loved one or the death of a loved one. In short, the savior seemed to be glorious, but in reality, there was a pain that outsiders did not know about. Chapter 786. Tang Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Stop joking, I'm not some savior. You are. Yan Qingyi said stubbornly, this is your fate. My fate is my own business. I don't even know, so how do you know? Because I saw your fate. Tang Jing looked at her strangely and said, when did you change your profession to become a fortune teller? Qingyi, don't spout nonsense. Seeing that Tang Jing still did not believe him, Yan Patian immediately stopped him. Yan Qingyi, on the other hand, was very persistent. She bent down and almost touched Tang Jing's face, and the two pairs of eyes were very close. Observing Yan Qingyi at such a close distance, it had to be said that she was truly beautiful. She was naturally beautiful without any makeup, and her loose Taoist robe was unable to completely conceal her alluring expression. Especially her towering breasts, which were especially eye-catching when she bent down. Yan Qingyi did not notice Tang Jing's impudent gaze from the corner of her eyes at all. She stared straight at him and said, I'm not spouting nonsense. It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. This is your fate. You are the savior. His words were so convincing that after Tang Jing was stunned, he could no longer treat it lightly. He didn't have much interaction with Yan Qingyi, but he knew that this person was not someone who would speak without thinking. Why was she so stubborn and determined that he was the savior of the world? What was the reason? Tang Jing slowly restrained his expression and asked, you said that you saw my fate. How can fate see it? I can see what will happen in the future. Yan Qingyi did not hide anything. Tang Jing's pupils dilated. He had never heard of such a thing. It could be said to be a miracle, but there were too many things in the world that could not be explained by science, and they might not all be fake. After all, even cultivators had appeared, so everything was possible. Prophecy! Tang Jing exclaimed. Yan Qingyi nodded, more or less. This was the first time she had admitted her ability to anyone other than her family. Tang Jing couldn't help but look at Yan Qingyi again. She was neither a martial artist nor a cultivator. She didn't even have the strength to truss up a chicken, yet she knew how to use the divination technique. How do you know prophecy? I don't know, but I just can. My prophecy about you is especially strong. Yan Qingyi said. But maybe it's because you're the savior. Hearing her mention the savior again, Tang Jing's expression became solemn. Does the prophecy really show that I will be the savior? Yan Qingyi nodded seriously. Tang Jing's expression was unprecedentedly solemn as he said, I never wanted to be a savior. What else is there in your prophecy? Why is this world in danger of destruction? Is it because of the demons? That's right. When the demon army arrived, the people were plunged into an abyss of misery and suffering. This world was on the verge of collapse, but it was you alone who turned the tide. When did that happen? Yan Qingyi shook his head. My prophecy technique is not that accurate, I can only make a rough prediction. Seeing that he had already revealed it, Yan Patian asked, Qingyi, you didn't mention the demon clan and the upcoming crisis. Could it be that you have made a new discovery recently? Yes, there has been a major breakthrough in the divination technique recently. The scene has become clearer. Tang Jing stood alone at the peak of the towering mountain, and at the foot of the mountain was the demon clan army. Tang Jing fought alone, and in the end, the demon clan army was defeated, and this world was lucky. I fought against the demon clan army by myself, and I won in the end. Tang Jing exclaimed in disbelief. This was truly beyond his imagination. With his cultivation, it was almost impossible for him to do this. Yan Qingyi said with incomparable certainty, Yes, as for the specific process, I am not clear, but in the end, you were victorious, standing at the peak of the mountain, and at the foot of the mountain were the remnants of the defeated demon clan army. What do you mean by not knowing the specific process? My prophecy technique is just some intermittent scenes. Yan Qingyi said regretfully. Then can you describe that mountain in detail? Mountain? Yan Qingyi asked curiously. All right, this mountain is very majestic, as if it is connected to the sky. It is covered in white snow, and people feel very small in front of this mountain. Is that it? Tang Zheng asked in disappointment. There were too many high mountains and steep ridges in the land of Huaxia. This description was too general, and many famous mountains were in line with it. Yan Qingyi frowned and started to think hard. The others all looked at her. The information expressed in this conversation was too much. In the past, the Yan family had only heard that Tang Zheng would be the savior of the world, but they did not know the specific details. This time, they heard that the demon army had besieged Tang Zheng, and in the end, Tang Zheng was victorious, so they also wanted to know more specific details. After a while, Yan Qingyi raised her head and said, "There is a very strange place in one of the scenes." "Oh, what strange place?" "There seems to be a ladder on the mountain peak, extending into the sky, leading to who knows where." Yan Qingyi said doubtfully. There was a ladder on the mountain peak, extending into the sky. No matter how you looked at it, it was extremely strange and did not conform to common sense. So much so that she had subconsciously overlooked it. If not for Tang Zheng's repeated questioning, she would not have thought of this scene. Tang Zheng became excited, his breathing rushed as he cried out in alarm, "Celestial stairway, you are describing the celestial stairway." He finally knew where this mountain was. Mount Buzhou. In the end, he actually went to Mount Buzhou again and rebuilt the celestial stairway. Since the celestial stairway was built, the sky beyond heaven was naturally not an untouchable place. The sky beyond heaven was open to other righteous cultivators. In the end, you saw me standing on the mountain peak, while the demon army fled in all directions. Did you see anyone else? Since Yan Qingyi saw the demon army, she should have seen the righteous cultivators come down from the celestial stairway and defeat the ancestor of Mo's army. This was the most likely thing. No, Yan Qingyi said. Try to recall again, was there anyone else? There really wasn't. Yan Qingyi said firmly. Tang Zheng's brows tightly knitted together again. This did not conform to common sense at all. Without the help of the righteous cultivators, how could he let the demon army escape? One question after another drilled into his mind, causing him to be at a loss for a while, unable to find an answer. Looking at Tang Zheng's reaction, the others cautiously asked, "Tang Zheng, what's the problem?" Tang Zheng slowly shook his head and said, "I'll tell you the truth, with my cultivation, it is not enough to fight the demon army alone. Since the other party chased to the foot of the mountain, it means that I have no way to deal with it." And she said that I defeated the demon army with my own strength. This matter is contradictory, there is no reasonable explanation. But my prophecy is not wrong. Yan Qingyi said firmly, obviously very confident in her ability. Then it can only be said that your prophecy is not detailed, there must be something missing. Moreover, just based on these few scenes, you can't say that this is the end of the world, right? A light flashed in Tang Zheng's mind. She said with certainty that he was the savior, so it must be that the world was facing a disaster. But with the demon race's arrival, this world might not be a disaster, but there would be many people dying, the old order would collapse, and a new order would be established. I dare to say that this is the end of the world. Of course there is a basis. The whole world is covered in black clouds, the waves are monstrous, and the earth is split open. It is a scene of death, as if in the next second, the world will collapse. Yan Qingyi said with lingering fear. Even if she recalled that scene, she still had lingering fear, and a trace of cold air rose from the bottom of her heart. Then it is similar to the scene in the movies, it really is the end of the world. Tang Zheng closed his eyes, imagining that scene, making it difficult to breathe and suffocate. Since you said that the world is about to be destroyed, then what is the use of the demon race besieging me? Tang Zheng asked puzzledly. Yan Qingyi was speechless. In the end she blankly shook her head. I also don't know. Since you said that I am the savior, then in the end, did I succeed in saving the world? Of course. The clouds dispersed, the waves calmed down, the earth also stopped shaking, and the world was once again filled with vitality. Yen Qingyi recalled that scene, feeling as if she had survived a disaster, and the corners of her mouth involuntarily rose into a smile. Tang Zheng became more and more confused. He could not imagine what was going on. Where did he have the ability to save the world? Why did the world become like the end of the world? Tang Zheng sighed, unwillingly asking. Yen Qingyi shook her head in shame. I don't know. But thinking about it, it should be caused by the demon race. Tang Zheng gave a non-committal laugh, saying, Your prophecy is too vague. There are many places without details. The key is that it does not make sense. Actually, I did not intend to tell you this at the beginning. I did not want to disrupt your train of thought and steps, but recently my prophecy of the end of the world has become more and more detailed. Those few scenes have only become clear recently, and just now I heard you mention the return of the demon race, so I decided to tell you as soon as possible, hoping that it will be of some help to you, so that you will not take the wrong path. Yen Qingyi said. The survival of humanity, and even the survival of the world, depends on you alone. Although you do not understand the deeper meaning of this right now, and even think that there are many places that are too contradictory, I firmly believe that this is just because the time is not right. Once the time is right, everything will follow naturally, and you will not have any more doubts. Seeing her solemn vow, Tang Zheng did not know whether to be happy that he was the savior, or cry that his life was so bitter to actually be the savior. It was not that easy to be the savior. This matter is too far away. We should focus on the present. Tang Zheng shook his head, temporarily dispelling these messy thoughts. You are the savior, you make the decisions. Yen Qingyi spread out her hands. You have done so much for humanity. Our Yen family will definitely not stay out of this matter. If you have any orders, we will definitely not refuse. Chapter 787. Since the Yen family was so confident, Tang Zheng did not hold back and directly said, All of you, keep a close eye on the Song family. Once Song Jianan or Song Yu appear, inform me, and even try your best to stall them and wait for me to deal with them. Since the Song family had framed him, he would not be courteous and directly use the power of the Yen family to find them even if he had to dig 3 feet into the ground. If he could follow the vine and find clues about the Sword Pavilion or the Azure Dragon Palace, then he would have profited. Yen Patin did not hesitate at all, and immediately nodded in agreement. Tang Zheng, don't worry, the Song family has been coveting the Yen family for a long time. If I don't take care of him, I won't be able to sit still. Although the Yen family is weak, I still want to do my best. I wonder if there's anything we can do to help with the matter of the Demon Clan? Tang Zheng had originally only come to remind the other party about the return of the Demon Clan. Since the other party had taken the initiative to volunteer, he could not directly reject them and destroy their enthusiasm. Although the officials are confident in dealing with the Demon Clan is not an ordinary person after all. Send people to Dianan, that is the lair of the 100 Transformations Star Lord. If the Demon Clan returns, they will definitely go there. I want to see if there are any fish that escape the net. Tang Zheng muttered to himself. Don't worry, we will immediately send people to Dianan. We will not let go of any clues. You, Bian, we don't have to fight him head-on. There are many experts in the Demon Clan, so fighting him head-on is not the best strategy. Tang Zheng warned. He did not wish for anything to happen to the people of the Yen family because of him. Regarding this relationship, the members of the Yen family were all moved. This was a true and righteous person. In addition, I would like to discuss more with Miss Yen about the prophecy technique. Tang Zheng was extremely curious about the prophecy technique and wanted to ask for advice. Shall we return to my Taoist temple? How could Tang Zheng refuse Yen Qingyi's warm invitation? After bidding farewell to the rest of the Yen family, Tang Zheng and Yen Qingyi returned to the Taoist temple. This Taoist temple was specially built for Yen Qingyi. It was very small, but it was built with great care. She was the only one in the temple. Although she had seen through the world of mortals, she was different from ordinary Taoist priests. She cultivated alone, accompanied by the green lamp and the ancient book. She did not interact with other Taoists. Therefore, the Tao she cultivated was completely different from other Taoists. Green tea, spring water, green lanterns, Taoist temple, everything exuded an otherworldly charm. Immersed in it, Tang Zheng's heart felt exceptionally tranquil, as if he had forgotten the troubles of the world. He slowly closed his eyes as if his soul was about to leave his body. Yan Qingyi quietly looked at him. Although she was not a cultivator or a martial artist, her perception was not weak. She could clearly feel the change in Tang Zheng's aura. Seeing Tang Zheng open his eyes again, Yan Qingyi praised, "You are fated with the Tao." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "What is the Tao?" "The Tao is in your heart. Once you understand it, you will naturally know." Yan Qingyi said. Tang Zheng shook his head. He did not want to discuss this vague topic with her. He went straight to the point and asked, "Why do you know the prophecy technique?" "Because this is my Tao. Once I understand it, I will naturally know the prophecy technique." Yan Qingyi calmly said. Tang Zheng frowned. These words were too mysterious. Once you understand the Tao in your heart, you will know the prophecy technique. No matter what, he could not understand the reason behind it. The key was that she was not a martial artist or a cultivator. Her body did not have inner strength or qi. It did not make sense. Could it be that once I understand the Tao in my heart, I will also know the prophecy technique? Tang Zheng asked. Yan Qingyi shook her head. That is not true. There are thousands and thousands of Taoists in the world. After understanding the Tao, they will all be different. Perhaps you will not know anything. Perhaps you will have a mysterious ability. You cannot generalize. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. This was a theory that he had never heard before. Even Tian Chanzi had never mentioned it before. This was a completely new field. Could it be that not cultivating and just blindly comprehending the Tao would allow one to have supernatural powers? But with a living example in front of him, he had no choice but to believe it. Then how can one comprehend the Tao? Tang Zheng asked again. Yan Qingyi closed her eyes and spread out her hands. She faintly said, "If you are sincere, you will naturally be able to comprehend the Tao." Tang Zheng speechlessly rolled his eyes. This was much more mysterious than cultivating. There was not a single ancient book or book to learn from. Then how do you comprehend the Tao? Familiarizing myself with the 3,000 ancient books of the way and sincerely comprehending the Tao. Familiarizing yourself with the ancient books? Tang Zheng frowned. There are countless Taoist temples and Taoist priests in the world. Why do they not comprehend the Tao? Their hearts are not sincere. Yan Qingyi opened her eyes and lightly said. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. There was no way to continue this conversation. There was nothing substantial. It was all illusory Tao. He could not help but remember the heavenly Tao that the Empyrean fairy had once mentioned. Qin Shi Huang had killed too many people and was punished by the heavenly Tao. As a result, he was unable to obtain immortality. Then what exactly was the heavenly Tao? What is the heavenly Tao? Tang Zheng directly asked. Heavenly Tao? Yan Qingyi's expression became particularly solemn. The heavenly Tao is the ultimate Tao. I cannot comprehend it, so I do not know. Ultimate Tao. Tang Zheng sucked in a breath of cold air. Then can anyone comprehend the heavenly Tao? Yan Qingyi thought for a moment and nodded. Naturally. Then what kind of abilities will one obtain after comprehending the heavenly Tao? Tang Zheng asked curiously. I do not know. Yan Qingyi shook her head. Tang Zheng pursed his lips. She did not know anything. There was no way he could continue this discussion. He wanted to know more practical things. Then can you predict more information about the end of the world? Yan Qingyi regretfully said, That is all for now. All right, since there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. If there is any further information about the end of the world, I hope you can tell me. Of course. Goodbye. Tang Zheng stood up and extended his hand. Yan Qingyi grasped his hand. Just as she was about to say goodbye, her eyes suddenly lit up and her expression greatly changed. Tang Zheng saw that she was not letting go of his hand and her expression was strange. He could not help but ask, "What's wrong?" Yan Qingyi did not answer. It was as if she was stunned. "What's going on?" Tang Zheng was confused. "Isn't it just a handshake? Why isn't she letting go?" "Wait, something mysterious seems to be happening to her body?" Just as he was at a loss, Yan Qingyi finally let go of his hand. She closed her eyes and softly fell to the ground. "Be careful!" Tang Zheng shouted and hurriedly hugged her waist. Under the large robe, her waist was extremely slender and elastic. Yan Qingyi fell into his arms. "Wake up, what's wrong?" Tang Zheng called out in concern. Yan Qingyi's eyelids twitched. She finally opened her eyes with difficulty and saw Tang Zheng's anxious face. His face was right in front of hers, and the two of them were in a very intimate position. She was lying in Tang Zheng's arms while Tang Zheng was hugging her waist. No matter how one looked at it, they looked like an intimate couple. "I am fine," Yan Qingyi weakly said. "Don't move. I'll take you to the bed and lie down for a while." Tang Zheng had already seen that behind the living room was a bedroom. Without any explanation, he picked her up and walked straight to the bedroom. When he walked in, he could not help but be surprised. The bedroom was not big and was very simple. There was only a hard wooden bed and a cabinet. The walls were bare without any decorations. It was extremely simple. This was thousands of miles away from an ordinary woman's room. It was extremely inconsistent with her identity as the young miss of the Yan family. Yan Qingyi was very weak. Although she felt that it was not appropriate for him to carry her like this, she could not struggle and refuse. Tang Zheng gently placed her on the bed and covered her with a blanket. He said, "Don't talk. Rest for a while." Yan Qingyi was helpless and could only close her eyes. Tang Zheng sat by the bed and curiously looked at her. Her face without any makeup was pale and weak. He really could not understand why she suddenly fainted. Could it be? He immediately recalled the scene just now. She had become like this after holding his hand. Could it be because she held his hand? Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. He raised his hand and looked at it. There was nothing strange. When did his hand have this kind of magic? It could even cause people to faint? No, he had held hands with many people. He had even had intimate contact with Feng Shishir and the others. There was absolutely no such situation. But if it was not a handshake, then what caused it? He could not figure it out. He could only wait for her to rest to find out the answer. He stared at her without blinking. Unknowingly, he was attracted by her appearance. What happened to her body that made her so different from ordinary women? Coarse hemp clothes, a temple, a woman alone. With all these companions, how could she endure such loneliness? Tang Zheng knew that he was a person who could endure loneliness, but he could not imagine what kind of life this was. If it were him, he would have collapsed long ago. In addition, her so-called Tao was also very mysterious, causing Tang Zheng to be enlightened as if he had opened a door to a new world. It was just that behind the door was a thick fog, so he could not see clearly what kind of scenery it was. Outside the window, it was completely dark. In the night, the sound of frogs and insects could be heard, making the temple even more peaceful. As if his heart had sensed something, he simply began to circulate his energy and cultivate. During the day, he had absorbed Song Jianan's energy and directly advanced to the gold level 3rd grade. The vast amount of energy was converted into true qi and stored in his body. He silently experienced the mysteries of the gold core 3rd grade, consolidating his cultivation. He gradually became one with the quiet environment. Unknowingly, he was completely immersed in the wonderful state of cultivation. After an unknown amount of time, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. His cultivation had been completely consolidated and his true qi was much purer. But a face was close at hand looking at him. Seeing him open his eyes, she quickly retreated. She hid her embarrassment and lightly said, "You're awake." Looking at Yan Qingyi, Tang Zheng was overjoyed and said, "You're also awake? How do you feel now?" "I'm much better. Thank you for just now." Yan Qingyi said, "It's nothing. What happened to you just now? Are you not feeling well?" Tang Zheng asked with concern. Chapter 788. Yan Qingyi's expression was complicated as she stared at Tang Zheng, as if she wanted to see through every pore on his face. Previously, when I held your hand, an image suddenly appeared in front of my eyes. Tang Zheng's heart moved as he said in surprise, "You mean the prophecy technique worked again?" Yan Qingyi nodded. "It seems that when I held your hand, the prophecy technique worked and I saw a new image." "What image?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. "Do you still remember the stone stairs at the top of the mountain?" "Of course I remember. That stone stairs seemed to lead to the sky and there seemed to be something at the end of the stairs. It was very blurry and I couldn't see clearly, but the aura was very frightening. Even if I only saw an image, I still felt a kind of fear from the depths of my soul." Yan Qingyi said worriedly. "There was something at the end of the stairs and it made her so afraid?" Tang Zheng was incredulous as his eyes widened. The other end of the stairs was the sky beyond heaven. Didn't he build the stairs to guide the righteous cultivators back? What was so scary about the righteous cultivators? Try to recall again and see if you can see clearly what is at the end of the stairs. Tang Zheng continued to ask. Yan Qingyi was regretful as she shook her head. "I already tried, but I couldn't see clearly. It was very blurry, but the aura was very frightening." Could it be that it was some powerful cultivator in the sky beyond heaven that gave her this illusion? Tang Zheng muttered to himself. "Why don't we shake hands again and see if you can see more clearly?" Tang Zheng suggested. Yan Qingyi was restless and said, "I can try." Tang Zheng thought of her weak appearance and hurriedly asked, "Do you always have such a strong reaction when you use the prophecy technique?" "Yes, using the prophecy technique consumes a lot of energy. After it ends, one will be exhausted and will almost faint. But I will be fine after resting for a while." "Then it's been hard on you." The two of them held hands again. Yan Qingyi's hand was slender, small, and a little cold. It was completely wrapped up by Tang Zheng's warm big palm. The two pairs of eyes stared at each other, waiting for the moment when the prophecy would take effect. As time passed, the air seemed to have frozen. Everything was silent, and Yan Qingyi did not react at all. "How is it?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. Yan Qingyi shook her head sadly. "It didn't work." "Why? Didn't it work just now?" Tang Zheng was also very disappointed. "I don't know either. The prophecy technique is triggered by chance and is not completely under my control. However, in the past, the prophecy technique was only activated when I was meditating alone. It has never been activated in front of others, let alone in contact with others. In other words, what happened just now was an accident, or rather, it had something to do with Tang Zheng." However, even after exhausting a lot of brain cells, the two of them still couldn't figure out the reason. Both of them felt that it was a pity. If they could see a few more scenes, perhaps the situation of the apocalypse and the end of the stairway to heaven would be clearer. The two of them unconsciously held hands. When Tang Zheng noticed, his heart couldn't help but tremble. It was really impolite to hold a woman's hand like this, especially when the other party was a Taoist nun. He pretended to be calm and let go of her hand without a trace. "It's late, then I'll take my leave first." "Do you know the situation of the Tree of Life recently?" Yan Qingyi suddenly asked. "I don't know why. When I was under the Tree of Life before, the prophecy technique played a greater role, so I want to go to the Tree of Life again to see if I can find anything new." Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. "Is that so?" "Yes, but the Tree of Life is protected by your array, so I can't get close." "That's not a big problem." In order to prevent the dragon group from researching the Tree of Life, Tang Zheng had used the energy of the Heaven-Earth Mystic Stone and the Universal 8 Desolation Array to protect it. "I'll tell you a way to safely pass through the Universal 8 Desolation Array and you'll be able to reach the Tree of Life. I hope your prophecy technique can make a new discovery." Yan Qingyi's eyes lit up. "That's great." Tang Zheng told her the trick of the Universal 8 Desolation Array and she committed it to memory. In the end, Tang Zheng said goodbye and left. When he returned home, he found that Fang Shishir was still waiting for him in the living room. Seeing him come back, she welcomed him with a smile and asked like a little wife, "You're back so late, have you eaten?" Tang Zheng held her hand with a smile and said, "I have." "It's so late, why aren't you resting? Are they all asleep?" They all went back to their rooms to rest. Since I can't sleep, I might as well wait for you to come back, Fang Shishir said with a gentle face. Tang Zheng's heart warmed. This feeling was like a husband who had worked hard outside for a day and came home to see his beautiful wife. He couldn't help but kiss her forehead. Fang Shishir's face turned red and she quickly dodged. Be careful not to let others see. No one will see. Fang Shishir glared at him and said, Sit down, I have something to talk to you about. The two sat down on the sofa and Tang Zheng held her waist. She struggled a few times but couldn't break free, so she fulfilled his wish. Behave, don't touch me, Fang Shishir said in a low voice as she slapped his naughty hands. Don't you have something to do? Of course I have something to do. I came back like this and didn't have time to tell Mom and Dad. If they find out, they will be very sad. Fang Shishir said with a sad expression. Studying abroad was a dream for the former Fang Shishir since she was young. Similarly, it was also her parents' dream. But now, in less than a year, she was forced to come back. How to explain this to her parents was a headache for her. Tang Zheng was so busy that he forgot about this matter. He said, Just say that you don't like living abroad and want to come back. But where will I go if I come back? Don't tell me I have to repeat my studies and take the college entrance exam? Fang Shishir said with disappointment. Tang Zheng rejected without hesitation. Of course not. Then where will I go to school? Don't tell me I don't have to go to school? If I don't go to school, what can I do? Her mind was not as open as Tang Zheng's. She still prioritized her studies. Even if she was a cultivator, she could not immediately give up her identity as a student. Tang Zheng scratched his head. This was indeed a problem. He thought for a while and said, I have an idea. Why don't you come with me to Yenching University? Is this okay? If I say it's okay, then it's okay. Tang Zheng knew so many important people and even met the chief. If he couldn't do this, then he would be doing too poorly. Seeing him make a solemn vow, Fang Shishir's worry turned into joy. She said, That's great. As she said this, she could not help but kiss Tang Zheng's face. Then, like a thief, she looked around as if she was afraid that other people would see her. Seeing this, Tang Zheng could not help but laugh mischievously. Why are you acting so sneakily when it's an open and above-board matter, like a thief? Fang Shishir rolled her eyes at him and rebuked him. If other beauties see you, do you think you'll have a good time? I'm thinking for you. A dog biting Lu Dongbin. You don't know how to appreciate good intentions. Tang Zheng was speechless and quickly nodded. My Shishir is the best. Come, give me another kiss. No, rogue. Fang Shishir quickly dodged, but how could she avoid Tang Zheng's evil claws? She was fiercely kissed again. Moreover, it was a French kiss. Fang Shishir's cheeks were bright red. Hurry up and do your business. Don't be a rogue or I'll ignore you. Fang Shishir fiercely twisted Tang Zheng's waist and urged him. Okay, I'll make a call right away. Tang Zheng surrendered. If he wanted to enter Yenching University, he could only go through the official channels. He could only ask Su Yingtian for help. After Su Yingtian received the call and heard the news, he readily agreed. For ordinary people, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For people with high positions like them, it was only a matter of a word. Tang Zheng, take advantage of the free time in these 2 days to finish everything. I estimate that we'll be leaving in 2 days. Su Yingtian urged. There's news so soon? Anyway, it's almost done. Now that we're gathering the strength of the entire country, of course the efficiency is high. Are we going to the East Sea to intercept them? Yes. Okay, then I'll wait for your news. Tang Zheng's face could not help but become serious. This time, he was not confident in confronting the demons. He must make his strength reach the absolute peak. Seeing Tang Zheng's dignified expression, Fang Shishir worriedly asked, What's wrong? In 2 days I will leave for the east. Maybe your master Tian Chanzi is there. The demons may have returned. I will cooperate with the government to stop them. That's too dangerous. Fang Shishir's heart trembled and said. Tang Zheng stroked her hair and smiled confidently. Your boyfriend is so powerful. How can there be danger? Don't worry. I'll go with you. No. You can't. You stay in Yanjing. If anything happens, stay by Fu Yao's side. She will protect all of you. Tang Jing warned without giving him any chance to explain. Good girl, I won't be gone for long. I'll get back to you soon. Fang Shishi's eyes could not help but redden. You're risking your life outside. How can I not worry? But I can't help you. I'm so useless. Silly girl, isn't a man's responsibility to protect the woman he loves? If I'm here and you have to fight, then I'll be a failure. Promise me you'll come back. Of course. Pinky promise. Fang Shishi said with reddened eyes. It's late. Let's go to sleep. After Pinky promise, Fang Shishi suddenly said shyly. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment before he reacted and cheered in a low voice. Oh, good. My Shishi is so understanding. I'm being merciful because you're leaving. Otherwise, I won't let you off so easily. Let me tell you, be quiet later. Don't let them hear. Chapter 789. Lying on the bed was a graceful figure. When she heard the sound of the door opening, she immediately opened her eyes and sat up. When she saw Tang Jing carrying Fang Shishi, her eyes flashed with embarrassment as she stood there in a daze. Tang Jing seemed to have been immobilized as he stared dumbfoundedly at the person on the bed, Marshall. Why was she lying on his bed? Of course she could lie down, but the key was in front of Fang Shishi. This time, boom, Tang Jing felt as if his mind had exploded. He was at a loss for what to do. Fang Shishi was stunned for a few seconds as she continued to lie in Tang Jing's embrace, staring straight at Marshall. The two women's eyes were burning as they stared at each other, as if the flames of war could ignite at any moment. Marshall. Tang Jing finally broke, but before he could finish, Marshall had already gotten off the bed in a panic and awkwardly said, I have something to talk to you about. I accidentally fell asleep. I'll go back to my room first. After she finished speaking, she rushed out of the room without looking back. Put me down. Fang Shishi fiercely pinched Tang Jing and said, I don't know what's going on either. Tang Jing said innocently. Playboy. Fang Shishi fiercely glared at him and angrily returned to her room, leaving Tang Jing to stare at her helplessly. F***, what the hell is this? I knew that living together would cause problems. It's only been 2 days. Tang Jing scratched his head and angrily muttered. A romance that was about to begin ended because of this small interlude. Tang Jing could not sleep, but there was nothing he could do. The next day, Fang Shishi and Marshall sat together as if nothing had happened. Outsiders could not see any clues, causing Tang Jing to sigh at how good this woman was at acting. However, it was fortunate that the two of them did not fight. Tang Jing secretly rejoiced. After breakfast, he brought Fang Shishi to Yenqing University. Su Yingtian had already arranged everything and Fang Shishi successfully entered the university. She chose her original major and continued to focus on her studies. The simple and boring days continued for 2 days before Su Yingtian's call came. They were going out to sea. A military vehicle stopped in front of Tang Jing. A small soldier hurriedly ran down and saluted. Chief Su sent me to pick you up. Tang Jing stared blankly for a moment before laughing involuntarily. He did not correct him and walked into the car. The little soldier respectfully closed the car door and was about to drive off when a person rushed over like the wind. He opened the car door and sat beside Tang Jing. The little soldier was shocked and shouted, Who is it? Just as he was about to take action, Tang Jing hurriedly stopped him. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Marshall beside him and said, Didn't I tell you to stay at home? Wherever you go, I'll go too. Wu Dang still refused to budge. There will be danger. Just now, he had spent a lot of effort to persuade the women to stay at home. He didn't expect that the moment he left, Marshall would catch up to him. Marshall stared straight at him and said, It's precisely because there's danger that I have to follow you. Tang Jing felt warmth in his heart, but he also felt helpless. But it's too dangerous. I'm not afraid of danger. Since I was young, I existed to deal with danger. Marshall said without retreating an inch. Their eyes met, and Tang Jing saw an incomparable determination in her eyes. It was obvious that there was no way to shake her decision. He couldn't help but say helplessly, "Why are you so stubborn?" Wu raised her snow-white neck and said, "I'm just stubborn." "All right, I'm afraid of you, but I have to make it clear in advance. When the time comes, you can't be stubborn and act according to the circumstances. Do you understand?" Tang Jing warned. Wu Dang's tense face finally revealed a trace of a smile as he said, "Understood." The two of them had already partnered up many times and could be considered to have a tacit understanding. Furthermore, Marshall's cultivation was not low, so Tang Jing had changed to fulfill his wish. "Little comrade, hurry up and drive." Tang Jing was deeply afraid that the others would chase after him. It wouldn't be good to bring an army of women with him. The military vehicle whistled away and finally drove into a heavily guarded military airport in the suburbs. Many fully armed soldiers were entering a huge military transport plane. The military vehicle stopped at the entrance of the cabin, and Su Yingtian quickly walked over to welcome him. "You're finally here. Hurry up and get on the plane. We're about to take off." Tang Jing nodded and boarded the plane with Marshall. The military transport plane was not as comfortable as the civil airliner. On a few rows of crude chairs sat imposing soldiers. These people are not weak. They are the elites of the army. Tang Jing muttered to himself. The two of them were dressed casually, especially since Marshall was a woman. They did not fit in with the surrounding environment and attracted the attention of many people. However, the soldiers were strictly disciplined and no one came to ask about it. However, Tang Jing saw an acquaintance, Kai Guibin. When Kai Guibin left the Dragon Group, Tang Jing recommended him to Su Yingtian. He never thought that they would meet again today. Kai Guibin was very enthusiastic. He hurriedly went up to Tang Jing and shook hands with him. He said familiarly, "Tang Jing, a scholar has been away for 3 days. Now, I don't dare to recognize you anymore. You're being too serious. Back then, you were the leader of my military training. For the time being, we're old acquaintances. Don't say such polite words," Tang Jing said enthusiastically. Kai Guibin was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Tang Jing had soared too quickly, whether it was strength or status, he had far surpassed Kai Guibin. This was a height that many people would never be able to reach in their lifetime, so he naturally could not help but sigh with emotion. The cabin door slowly rose. Su Yingtian came to Tang Jing's side and sat down. He nodded at Wu and said to Tang Jing, "This mission is very serious. When the time comes, you will have to bear with it a little more." "Well said, everyone work together," Tang Jing said indifferently. Su Yingtian squeezed out a smile and said, "What do you think of these soldiers?" "The elites of the army. These are the elites that the National Security Bureau has nurtured for many years. This time, in order to fight against the demon race, I have brought out all of my trump cards." Su Yingtian said with some desolation. This time, the National Security Bureau had bet a lot. If they failed, it would not be much different from a complete wipeout. Tang Jing's expression was cold as he said, "You're not leaving any way out? The rise and fall of the country is everyone's responsibility. At this time, I don't dare to hide anything. Many of these people are pre-celestial martial artists. They are prepared to give the demon race a fatal blow." Su Yingtian said firmly. "What about the Dragon Group? Didn't they also send them to participate in the battle? They took off from another airport. Both sides will meet at sea." "Will the Dragon Group send elites?" Tang Jing asked worriedly. Su Yingtian coldly snorted and said, "The leader has given a death order. Xing Feng does not have the guts to deceive his superiors. He should send elites. His super soldiers are not any weaker than your subordinates." Su Yingtian sighed inwardly and said, "Who said it wasn't? Who would have thought that he would create a super soldier program and even succeed? Now, only his Dragon Group has super soldiers. It is simply mass-produced experts. It is too damn heaven-defying." Tang Jing bitterly smiled. It is indeed heaven-defying. Although this Xing Feng's heart is not right, he still has some ability. Today, Tang Jing's cultivation was high, but he also walked step by step. He was not like the super soldiers who rose from an ordinary soldier to a pre-celestial martial artist. However, I heard that the super soldiers also have side effects. Many people did not survive and many people died. But they were all suppressed by Xing Feng. He is deranged and does not care about human life. Tang Jing snorted. I am not that cold-hearted. So, even if he gave me the super soldier drug, I would not inject it into my subordinates. Tang Jing solemnly said, They are lucky to have an officer like you. The military aircraft rose into the sky and landed an hour later at an airport near the sea. Then, everyone boarded several helicopters and flew towards the sea with the roar of the propellers. Below their feet was the boundless sea, and they could no longer see the shadow of land. Suddenly, a huge object appeared in the sea ahead. Tang Jing could not help but exclaim, Aircraft carrier. Su Yingtan laughed heartily and said, Ha, you have always been indifferent. I have never seen you so surprised before. Tang Jing smiled and pointed at the aircraft carrier below. I have only seen videos and photos on TV and the internet. Now that I see it with my own eyes, I can't help but feel excited. Tang Jing also had the same feelings as many people of his age. He had always paid close attention to the only aircraft carrier in the country. It could be said that the appearance of the aircraft carrier had raised the pride of the people. You are still a hot-blooded youth. Su Yingtian joked. Tang Jing rolled his eyes at him and said, I've always been one, all right. Then this time it will be as you wish. You will feast your eyes. You are saying that we are going to board the aircraft carrier? Of course. The moment he finished speaking, the helicopter had already landed on the aircraft carrier. A moment later, Tang Jing jumped down from the helicopter. When he stepped on the deck of the aircraft carrier, his heart could not help but beat fiercely. He took a deep breath. Apart from the smell of the sea, there was also the smell of iron and blood of the military. The deck was very busy. All kinds of military aircraft took off and landed in an orderly manner. There were also many soldiers who came and went in an endless stream. It was indeed a moving fortress on the sea. There was no doubt about its combat strength. It was no wonder that all the major countries were developing their own aircraft carriers. Don't just admire it. Let's go. Su Yingtian patted Tang Jing's shoulder. The few of them went to a meeting room together. The meeting room was already full. Most of them were in military uniforms. Their cheeks were chiseled like knives and axes, and they were extraordinarily mighty. However, Tang Jing saw some old acquaintances among them, Xing Feng and his subordinates. These people were dressed in casual clothes and had an arrogant air about them, which was completely different from the others' auras. However, there was no doubt that many of them were stronger than the other soldiers. There was no doubt about that. Moreover, Tang Jing also saw the remaining 3 of the 4 heavenly kings. Chapter 790. Tang Jing and the others walked to the table and sat down. The one sitting at the head was an officer in his 50s. He was serious and had the aura of an iron-blooded soldier. Su Yingtian had already introduced this person to Tang Jing. He was the highest commander of this aircraft carrier, General Luo Cheng. General Luo looked at everyone and said, Since everyone is here, then let's start the meeting. The enemy is about to enter our territorial waters, and now is the best time to ambush them. Our fleet is heading towards our target. The enemy is only on one ship, and this ship is not a civilian ship but a modified warship. Modified warship? Everyone's attention was attracted. Yes, this is a modified warship of the island nation, so we can't rule out that the enemy has sufficient firepower. This time we can't let our guard down. General Luo was experienced and said with certainty. Su Yingtian nodded and said, General Luo, this is your ship. You make the decisions, and we are just following your lead. General Luo looked at Su Yingtian approvingly. This was the sea, and he had the most experience in naval battles. If an amateur were to command an expert, then there would be a huge mess. Xing Feng snorted coldly and argued. We are under orders from our leader, and how can we rely on others to decide our strategy? Furthermore, the enemy we are facing this time is not ordinary, and conventional combat experience is not reliable. As soon as these words were said, the other soldiers glared at him. General Luo had absolute authority on the aircraft carrier, and Xing Feng dared to challenge his authority and angered everyone. Xing Feng glanced at everyone and said jokingly, "Don't agree with my point of view? Even if you don't agree, then take it back. This time, the Dragon Group is in charge, not the Navy." "Nonsense, when we are at sea, the Navy is the one making the decisions," a soldier retorted. Xing Feng said with disdain, "The Navy is only scaring the ordinary soldiers. Our Dragon Group is the most elite force. This is the battle plan that we came up with, and the others just have to follow." Xing Feng used to be in the army, so he didn't belong to the same system as the Navy, and now his identity is different, so his arrogant nature is exposed. General Luo said with a gloomy face, "Group Leader Xing, what is your so-called Dragon Group's battle plan? Your bombers will go and bombard them first. Then the ships will cover them with their firepower. Finally, we will appear and completely clean up the battlefield and eliminate the remnants." Xing Feng said arrogantly. As soon as this was said, everyone had a different look on their face. They said that the Dragon Group would take the lead, but in the end, it was still the Marine that played the role. The Dragon Group was just doing the finishing work to avoid the least loss and damage. Why should we be the vanguard? The enemy's situation is unknown. Didn't you boast that the Dragon Group is very powerful? Why don't you charge and break the enemy lines first? An officer retorted unhappily. Xing Feng laughed. "Good steel should be used on the blade. Our Dragon Group is the best of the best. Of course, we have to be responsible for the most crucial part. As for the Navy, you can only do the early work. In the follow-up battle, your strength is not enough to fill the gap between the enemy's teeth." Although that was the case, Xing Feng's secret plan was not simple. He didn't understand the strength of the demon race, so he wanted to use the Navy to test the bottom line first. If the enemy was too strong, the Navy would also consume a part of the enemy's strength. If the Dragon Group rushed up, their chances of winning would be much higher. General Luo was experienced and knowledgeable. How could he not see through the others' little thoughts? He said calmly, "Didn't I always hear that the Dragon Group is very strong? You have cultivated a group of super soldiers, and you have the secret weapon of the mech. Can't you be the vanguard?" General Luo didn't want his subordinates to be cannon fodder and help others. Xing Feng said, "An order is an order. Where is there so much room for negotiation? Could it be that General Luo wants to disobey the order and not carry out this mission?" Xing Feng, "I'm not scared. You're still too inexperienced to use these words to scare me. Don't think that just because you're an imperial envoy, you can order around and do whatever you want in my territory." General Luo criticized without any trace of politeness. If it was before, Xing Feng wouldn't have the qualifications and confidence to be so rampant in front of General Luo. Now that a petty person like General Luo had achieved success, he looked down on Xing Feng. Xing Feng's face flushed red. "Then this mission can't continue. I will report it to the leader as it is. This responsibility is not something that some people can bear." The faces of the Navy officers immediately turned ugly. They looked like they wanted to throw Xing Feng out. "Xing Feng, don't think that I'm the best in the world just because you're an imperial sword. This time, your Dragon Group isn't the only one in charge. My National Security Bureau hasn't said anything yet." Su Yingtian finally couldn't sit still and flipped out. Xing Feng disdainfully said, "Su Yingtian, be careful not to bite your tongue when you talk big. Do you think I don't know what your National Security Bureau is capable of? You'll soon be eliminated by history. You won't be able to jump around for more than a few days. Calm down a bit right now, or else you'll be the ones to suffer in the end." Xing Feng's thinking was very simple. He had to take advantage of this mission to show off enough in front of the leader to completely stabilize his position and leave Su Yingtian far behind. Although this matter was brought up by Su Yingtian in the beginning, Xing Feng was the best at picking up peaches halfway. How could he let Su Yingtian take another step forward through this mission? Actually, in terms of overall strength, the Dragon Group had already faintly surpassed the National Security Bureau. The National Security Bureau had the advantage of having many branches and leaves, a solid foundation, and strong overall strength. The Dragon Group had the advantage of being innovative and creating many new things, such as super soldiers and mecha. This kind of rapid growth in strength was something that the National Security Bureau couldn't compare to. Thus, Xing Feng could be considered a talent, but his heart wasn't in the right place. The more things he had in his hands, the more dangerous it would be. How could Su Yingtian be frightened by Xing Feng? He suddenly slammed the table and roared, "Xing Feng, you're the one who should calm down. What kind of time is this? This is a crucial moment for the survival of the country, and you're still scheming. Don't think that everyone is a fool and doesn't know your sinister intentions." Su Yingtian didn't give Xing Feng any face and tore apart Xing Feng's disguise with a single sentence. The leader of the military was radiant with joy as he sent grateful gazes towards Su Yingtian. General Luo also nodded towards Su Yingtian in gratification. The two of them were old acquaintances, and General Luo knew Su Yingtian's character. Seeing that the latter had helped him out of the situation, he was extremely happy. Xing Feng was furious. "Su Yingtian, don't be an alarmist and don't frame me. I'm wholeheartedly doing this for the sake of the country. Furthermore, this plan is the best plan." "Bullshit best plan. You only want to use others as cannon fodder. What kind of best plan is this? Don't the super soldiers of the Dragon Group have the ability to attack from the air? Furthermore, mechas aren't any worse than airplanes. I heard that your mechas have already been installed with flight systems and can already fly in the air. Can't you also carry out aerial attacks?" Su Yingtian retorted. Xing Feng was inwardly furious. Su Yingtian actually knew so much about the Dragon Group. It seemed that his purge back then wasn't thorough enough. The Dragon Group still had the National Security Bureau's spies. If my people suffer any losses, then who will take over the battle later? Is there anyone who can fight against the Demon Clan with their individual strength? I'll do it. I'll do it, Su Yingtian and Tang Jing said at the same time. Then the two looked at each other and smiled in tacit understanding. Seeing Tang Jing speak, many people's attention was drawn over, especially General Luo. Previously, Su Yingtian wasn't in a hurry to introduce Tang Jing's identity. Therefore, the military only thought that he was a member of the National Security Bureau and didn't think much of it. Tang Jing ignored everyone's gazes and stared straight at Xing Feng. "Xing Feng, if your Dragon Group wants to stay, then you have to listen to everyone's arrangements. You want to be the boss? You're still too inexperienced. General Luo has the most experience here. I feel that following his plan is the most feasible." Although Tang Jing didn't know General Luo's plan, he had a good impression of him. To be able to become the highest commander of Hua Xia's first aircraft carrier strike group, not only did he have connections, but more importantly, he had strength. Therefore, Tang Jing admired General Luo from the bottom of his heart. Hearing this, the military nodded and smiled kindly at Tang Jing. Su Yingtian also nodded in agreement. General Luo is a pillar of the country. He's a rare talent in our country. I support this operation to be led by him. Su Yingtian took the initiative to give up power, which won many people's applause. He wasn't a person who monopolized power. His biggest hope was that this operation would be a complete success, not a struggle for power. In the vast sea, in terms of actual combat experience, of course no one could surpass General Luo. Therefore, he also preferred to let General Luo lead. Hearing Su Yingtian's words, Xing Feng became angrier and said, "How is this the same as a normal naval battle? It's different, but you still don't have the qualifications to lead." Tang Jing said bluntly. "Tang Jing, what's wrong with me? Come bite me? Haha, actually I'm looking forward to you biting me now. That way, I can make you completely speechless. You should know that I really dare to do that." Tang Jing sneered and said jokingly. Many officers sucked in a breath of cold air. They were all guessing who this young man was, daring to go head-to-head with Xing Feng. However, this was really courageous. It was really King cool. Therefore, everyone's good impression of Tang Jing was through the roof, and they all looked at him eagerly. A strange look flashed through General Luo's eyes. He stared at Tang Jing and said, "You're Tang Jing?" The other officers had been at sea for many years and didn't know of Tang Jing's great name, but General Luo knew a little and couldn't help but be surprised. The other party was too young. It was hard to believe that the main character of those rumors was him. Tang Zheng nodded to General Luo and said, "General Luo, I'm Tang Zheng." Chapter 791. The addition of Tang Zheng caused the situation to take a turn for the worse. The three heavenly kings of the dragon group were ready to make a move but were stopped by Xing Feng's gaze. Xing Feng was very clear about Tang Zheng's temper. He was someone who dared to directly make a move. In the end, if there was internal strife before the battle even started, Tang Zheng was outside of the system so he could just leave. But Xing Feng would inevitably be criticized by the chief and the gains would not make up for the losses. "General Luo, please give the order." Tang Zheng nodded towards General Luo and said. General Luo glanced at Xing Feng and saw that he did not object. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Everything had its weakness. Even though Xing Feng was very active, he was still nothing in front of Tang Zheng. The Navy and the Dragon Group will be the vanguard. We will attack and suppress from the air and further investigate the enemy's situation. In addition, the ships will cooperate with the suppressive fire and the boarding team will follow closely behind to carry out the final elimination mission. General Luo ordered. He did not put the Navy at the back but formed the vanguard with the Dragon Group. He did not favor one side over the other. This showed his selfless spirit. Xing Feng was angry but did not dare to speak. He coldly snorted as a tacit agreement. "General Luo, I have a suggestion. The National Security Bureau can also be part of the vanguard. We are all hot-blooded men and are not afraid of sacrifice." Su Yingtian volunteered. General Luo said with gratification, "Good. Since Director Su has such a request, then the three of us will form the vanguard. We are the most important. As long as we attack the enemy, then the comrades behind will have an easier time and there will be fewer sacrifices." "Are there any normal people on the ship?" Tang Zheng interrupted and asked. Xing Feng heard this and immediately said with disdain, "So what if there are normal people? We will still attack. Moreover, their sacrifice is worth it to stop such a big event." Clearly, Xing Feng did not care about the lives of the innocent. Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and said, "There will be retribution for treating human lives like grass." Xing Feng sneered with disdain and did not comment. General Luo looked at Tang Zheng with admiration. It was rumored that he was a bloodthirsty person, but it seemed that the rumors were wrong. A person who cared about ordinary people meant that his heart wasn't too bad. Although General Luo was a soldier who killed decisively, he wouldn't watch as ordinary people lost their lives. "Don't worry, Tang Zheng. Preliminary information shows that the people on this ship are all enemies. There are no ordinary people." General Luo comforted him. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief and nodded in relief. "That's good." The operation began. Tang Zheng and Su Yingtian boarded the helicopter together and flew to the target area. The aircraft carrier was also bustling with activity. All kinds of planes took off. At the same time, people soared into the sky and flew up, causing many people to cry out in surprise. These people were naturally the super warriors of the Dragon Group. They were equipped with special equipment that allowed them to fly. However, when the other two behemoths rose from the bottom of the deck, they shocked even more people. Even General Luo, who stayed in the command center of the aircraft carrier, could not help but twitch his eyelids when he saw this scene. Mechas. The two mechas stood tall on the deck. Everyone seemed especially small under the feet of the mechas. Boom. Two blazing flames shot out from the bottom of the mecha's feet. They soared into the sky and then turned in the air, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Xing Feng sat in the helicopter and watched this scene with satisfaction. He then looked at the others' shocked expressions and curled his lips. "Country bumpkins." The three heavenly kings sat beside Xing Feng. The Thunder King agreed loudly. "Team leader is right. These people are all country bumpkins, not worth mentioning." However, Tang Zheng and Su Yingtian went against team leader in front of so many people. This kind of atmosphere cannot be encouraged. We must take action. The Wind King and Water King also nodded in agreement. The Thunder King is right. I've been unhappy with these two guys for a long time. Moreover, the Fire King's death is related to Tang Zheng. We must avenge this. Xingfeng's face darkened and he sneered. I've already warned you that there will be plenty of opportunities for revenge. Previously we were just enduring. Now, isn't this the best opportunity? The Thunder King's eyes lit up. Team leader, are you saying that we should get rid of them this time? Xingfeng smiled meaningfully. Fighting against the demon race is not child's play. Deaths and injuries are inevitable. Some people may never return, remaining in this sea. The three heavenly kings looked at each other in tacit understanding. Then, they smiled and said, Team leader is right. Some people will be buried at the bottom of the sea forever. Amidst the roar of the propellers, Tang Jing also saw the super warriors and mechas flying in the air not far away. He was already familiar with the Dragon Group's assets and was not surprised. However, the opponent's equipment had clearly been upgraded. The mechas before did not have the ability to fly, but now they had made a qualitative leap. However, he was not to be trifled with. In the past, he had not been afraid when facing mechas, and now he was not afraid either. On the other hand, Su Yingtian's expression was solemn when he saw this scene. He sighed. I've been in charge of the National Security Bureau for so many years, but I've been surpassed by the Dragon Group's rising stars. After I die, I won't have the face to meet the previous directors of the National Security Bureau. Tang Jing consoled him. Chief Su, you're too modest. I heard that the National Security Bureau has made a qualitative leap under your leadership. Their overall strength has far surpassed what it used to be. But compared to the Dragon Group, it pales in comparison. Tang Jing snorted. Xingfeng is a person who would stop at nothing. Speaking of super warriors, I heard that this project had been in the works for a long time, but it was shelved in the end because it was inhumane. All of the experiments were done on living people. Xingfeng is vicious and merciless, not caring about the lives of others. That's why he pushed for this project. As for how many failed victims there were, it's unknown. Su Yingtian's expression relaxed. You're quite good at comforting people. Su Yingtian was indeed not such a ruthless person. He wouldn't treat the lives of his subordinates as a joke. In fact, Xingfeng's achievements today were due to many coincidences. If there weren't werewolves in the beginning for his experiments, and if there weren't a large number of demon beast cores to provide energy for his experiments, no matter if it was the super warrior or mecha projects, they wouldn't have succeeded. A huge ship gradually appeared in everyone's vision. Su Yingtian's expression turned cold. He pointed at the ship and said, That's the target. Tang Jing's pupils shrank. He looked up. The distance was too far, so he couldn't see the exact situation on the ship. However, he could vaguely see that there were people on the deck. The enemy had discovered them. General Luo's dignified voice came from the communication channel. Then, one after another, sharp sounds pierced through the air. One after another, cannonballs flew towards the ship on the water. Suddenly, a ray of light rose from the ship. It bloomed like fireworks, filling the sky with rays of light. They intertwined and fell, forming a huge dome of light that covered the ship. Boom, boom, boom. Loud sounds exploded on the dome of light. Flames filled the sky, and waves of air surged. Huge waves were set off on the sea, but the ship inside the dome of light was safe and sound. Everyone in the sky was shocked when they saw this scene. What kind of protective dome was this? It actually had such power to resist such a powerful attack. Continue to attack. General Luo was monitoring the battlefield from a distance. He clearly saw this scene. His heartstrings trembled. Then, he regained his composure and continued to give orders. Swoosh, swoosh. Sharp sounds pierced through the air. This time, not only were the planes firing, even Hua Xia's ships a few nautical miles away were firing. Missiles rose into the sky one after another. It was like thousands of flowers blooming. The light from dozens of missiles intertwined and even covered the scorching sun in the sky. Everyone looked at the dome of light with anticipation. Boom! After a series of explosions, fine cracks appeared on the dome of light. They quickly expanded. In a moment, the dome of light was full of cracks. Crack! Like glass shattering, the dome of light turned into specks of light and disappeared. Cheers came from the sky. The power of technology was indeed extraordinary, breaking this strange dome of light. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. But before they could be happy for a while, they saw people flying from the deck. Enemy attack. Everyone began to make a big fuss. Tang Zhang's expression was stern. His brows were knitted together. The enemy was strong. There were actually so many demons that could fly. He estimated that there were no less than dozens of them. The demons only have a total of 100 people, and dozens of them have been sent out. This welcoming ceremony is really grand. Su Yingtian said in a deep voice. The demons only have 100 people? Tang Zheng was stunned. How come he didn't know about this? Ah, you didn't know? Su Yingtian asked in surprise. Of course I didn't know. You didn't tell me. Tang Zheng said in a bad mood. Su Yingtian slapped his head and said with shame, I'm really sorry. I was so busy these days that I thought I told you. The latest information shows that not many demons have returned, only 100 or so. So our chances of winning this battle are very high. Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide in shock and said, Only 100 or so? Yes. What is the 100-change-star sovereign doing? He went through so much trouble and only allowed 100 or so demons to return. This doesn't make sense. Tang Zheng muttered. What doesn't make sense? Didn't you say before that the Mountain River Blood Sacrifice Array needs enough spirit energy? Island Nation is such a small country. Of course its spirit energy is not as abundant as our Huaxia. So this array is naturally greatly reduced and can only allow 100 or so demons to return. Su Yingtian explained. Tang Zheng muttered to himself. He couldn't help but admit that Su Yingtian's words were not false. Perhaps this was the case. But if this was the case, then wouldn't Yan Qingyi's prophecy be false? The demon army did not return. How could it be the end of the world? Moreover, the image she saw had the demon army. It was completely inconsistent with the current situation. Seeing Tang Zheng frowning and not speaking, Su Yingtian said, This is a good thing. Why are you frowning? Tang Zheng shook his head and said, Let's eliminate these demons first. Chapter 792. The demons were close at hand, and the team of dozens of demon experts was still very imposing, standing in the air. Suddenly, rays of light burst out from their hands. Dodge! Tang Zheng shouted. The planes rose one after another, flying high into the sky to avoid the magic weapon attacks of the demons. But in the end, there was a plane that couldn't dodge in time and was cut in half like cutting tofu. The people in the cabin fell into the sea one after another. The planes opened fire, and balls of fire rushed out, shooting at the demons. But the demons were very agile, and it was difficult to catch them. They shuttled through the air, and a few more planes fell into the sea. No, if this goes on, we will be annihilated before we can hurt the other side. Su Yingtian shouted anxiously. At first, they thought that after the first round of fire, the command of the demons' ship would be blown up and most of the demons would die, so if they fought again, their chances of winning would naturally be much higher. They didn't expect the demons' means to be so powerful. A light shield protected the ship without any damage, and then took the initiative to attack. Moreover, they could fly in the air. With so many planes, the advantage of the high ground became a burden. General Luo, we can't hold on like this. Sooth 2, in Tianhui reported. Xingfeng, why aren't your super soldiers and mechas moving? General Luo was also anxious and quickly ordered. Xingfeng shrugged lazily, knowing that he couldn't avoid it, and said, Just move. Under the order, the super soldiers and mechas moved. Just now, they relied on their strong mobility to avoid the demons' attack, and there was no damage at all. Instead, it was the Navy and the National Security Bureau that suffered the most losses. More than 100 super soldiers and mechas immediately flew towards the demons, and the two sides began a fierce battle in midair. In terms of individual strength, the super soldiers were no match for the demons. After all, when a cultivator cultivated to the stage of flying in the air, their cultivation was already not low. Tang Zheng broke through to the Jindan realm before he could fly in the air. Tang Zheng found people in the Jindan realm among these demons, but the lowest among them was above the fasting realm. Being able to fly in the fasting realm was something that even Tang Jing was unable to do. This was enough to show how powerful the devil race was. However, although the super soldiers were not as strong as the demons individually, with the help of the mechas, their strength was greatly increased. There were already demons who were torn in half by the mechas, and their blood splattered all over the sky. The bloodlust of the demon race was also stimulated, and they began a massacre. The super soldiers also suffered one after another. Their heads were separated from their bodies, and they fell into the sea. All of you jump out quickly. The plane is now a huge live target. It's not safe to stay inside. Tang Jing reminded them loudly. Parachutes had already been prepared on the plane, so they all put on their parachutes and jumped into the sea. Tang Jing held Marshall's hand and warned, "Go down and wait for me. I'll be there in a while." "Be careful," Marshall said gently. Tang Jing nodded his head. He leaped out of the cabin but did not fall into the sea, because Little White came out from Sumeru World, and with a shake of its body, it became a circle bigger, its 4 hooves stepping on flames, and rose into the air. Tang Jing rode on Xiaobai's back, waved his hand at the dumbstruck crowd, turned into a bolt of lightning and flew towards the battlefield. When a demon race who was in the fasting realm saw Tang Jing flying over, he immediately waved his magic treasure and rushed over. Kill. Tang Jing growled. The war soul sword broke through the air, and with its pew sound, it directly pierced through the chest of the demon race. The other party looked at the big hole in his chest in disbelief. His eyes rolled back, and he turned into a dead fish and fell into the sea. Tang Jing's appearance immediately attracted a lot of attention, especially the way he appeared was really eye-catching. He was actually riding a demon beast. Not only was the demon race surprised, even Xing Feng and the 3 heavenly kings who were hiding at the back opened their eyes wide, looking at Tang Jing and Xiaobai in disbelief. "When did this brat have a flying demon beast?" Xing Feng shouted angrily. The 3 heavenly kings looked at each other. They had never heard of this before. Suddenly, Thunder King stared at Xiaobai and his eyes lit up. This seems to be the Xiaobai that has always been by that brat's side. "Xiaobai, isn't he a little guy? How did he become so big?" Of course Xing Feng knew about Xiaobai, and knew that this little guy had extraordinary strength, but he never thought that it could actually transform and fly. The 3 heavenly kings were unable to answer Xing Feng's question, but their expressions were obviously not good. Previously, they had planned to find an opportunity to kill Tang Jing during the battle, but now, it seemed that Tang Jing's strength had undergone a qualitative leap and the difficulty had increased. Furthermore, the demon race did not play by the rules, and everything did not develop according to their expectations. Then what should we do later? What do you think we should do? Of course we should act according to the plan. Tang Jing is getting stronger and stronger, so we can't just sit by and watch him grow stronger. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so killing him can be used as a cover. There won't be the slightest bit of risk. Xing Feng fiercely said. The 3 heavenly kings nodded solemnly, "As you command." Tang Jing's interference attracted a lot of firepower, and in an instant, 5 or 6 demon race gathered around him, all of them glaring at him. "You are also a cultivator." Tang Jing looked at them. These people were old and young, and there were Jindan and Enidia realms. There was even an old man that Tang Jing could not see through, so his cultivation was probably higher than his. Tang Jing was not afraid in the slightest, as it was not his style to be afraid before the battle. "You are a cultivator, yet you are helping these people deal with us." The demon race roared fiercely. "You are demon race and we are of the righteous path. Since ancient times, the righteous path and evil path have not coexisted. Is there a problem?" Tang Jing asked disdainfully. "Ha, righteous path, I, your father, have not killed righteous path cultivators for a long time. Today I will use you as an example." The demon race laughed crazily and roared, "Kill!" 5 or 6 demon race cultivators attacked Tang Jing together. Tang Jing took a deep breath, and with a flash of his sword, he used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. Shwa shwa shwa. The Enidia realm demon race cultivator at the front was cut in 2, dying on the spot. But the demon race cultivators at the back were not so easy to deal with. They immediately entangled Tang Zheng, making him unable to pay attention to his back. Two demon race cultivators brandished their treasures and attacked his back. A low and deep cry came from Xiao Bai's mouth, mixed with anger. It opened its mouth, and a flame soared into the sky. The demon race cultivators in front of Tang Zheng were immediately engulfed by the flame, and they screamed miserably. Tang Zheng used a few sword moves to deal with these few flaming people, and then suddenly turned around to face the demon race cultivators behind him. When the demon race cultivators saw their companions turned into flaming people, they could not help but turn pale with horror. Their movements subconsciously slowed down by half a beat, giving Tang Zheng the time to react. Seeing the sword light slashing towards them, the two of them woke up from a dream and quickly used their treasures to resist. They retreated in embarrassment, and only then did they save their lives. The white-bearded old man did not make a move. At this moment, his expression was not good. He had so many people besieged him, and in the end, they were almost wiped out. It was too shameful. You are only a third-grade Jindan, and yet you have such strength. What sect are you from? The old man shouted angrily as he saw through Tang Zheng's cultivation. Tang Zheng rarely met people who could see through his cultivation at a glance. After all, he was a cultivator, and was different from a martial artist, so even if his cultivation was not high, the masters of the several great families could not see through his cultivation. However, this white-bearded old man was also a cultivator, so of course, he did not have this obstacle and easily saw through it. It was because he saw through Tang Zheng's cultivation that he was not in a hurry to make a move. He was a fourth-grade Jindan, one level higher than Tang Zheng. Moreover, the others were also in the Jindan stage, which was the same as Tang Zheng. The old man believed that with so many people, it would be easy to kill Tang Zheng. Who would have thought that all day long he would be pecked in the eye by the goose? This brat's fighting strength was simply abnormal, and there was also that monster beast. The flames it spat out were particularly different, with great lethality. Even he had to retreat. Therefore, he could not help but be curious about Tang Zheng's origin. Weren't the cultivators of this world expelled? Even if he was lucky enough to find some incomplete cultivation methods, it was absolutely impossible for him to have such a powerful strength. He immediately suspected that the other party must have an expert to guide him. I don't have any sect, but I can't allow you demons to be so rampant. Back then, the demon god died in front of me, and now it's not difficult to deal with you. Tang Zheng stared with wide eyes and shouted loudly. Tang Zheng concluded that the demon god's cultivation was definitely higher than this old man, so he deliberately used the demon god's death to provoke him. Sure enough, when he heard the two words demon god, the old man's eyes were obviously wide open, and he said in disbelief, "You killed the demon god?" At that time, the demon god returned with a great mission, which was to use the mountain river blood sacrifice array to lead the demon army back. But in the end, there was no news, which made the demon race very worried, and they guessed that the demon god was doomed. Now that he heard that the demon god had died in front of the other party, the old man was naturally angry. "Oof, ignorant brat. Today, I will let you know the power of my demon race and avenge the demon god." After the old man finished speaking, he immediately rushed forward. It had to be said that this old man did have some skills, and was something that the other demon clan-s could not compare to. Tang Zheng immediately felt the pressure, and that earth-shattering aura caused his heart to palpitate. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth and gripped the War Soul Sword tightly. The War Soul Sword started to buzz and tremble, and the sword hummed incessantly. The voice of the sword spirit sounded in Tang Zheng's mind. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" The innate qi in Tang Zheng's body seemed to be boiling, and his power reached its peak. His eyes turned cold, and a ray of light shot out, and he roared, "Kill!" Xiao Bai growled and carried Tang Zheng to meet the old man. Both sides were imposing, and the battle was on the verge of breaking out. It was earth-shattering, and in that instant, the sky was filled with brilliance, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. Chapter 793. With a light flick of the spear, the skull attacked Tang Jing. Tang Jing hurriedly used his sword to block. The skull flashed with a black light and transformed into a huge skull, fiercely biting onto the War Soul sword. Tang Jing raised his eyebrows, the sword tip trembled, the skull was shattered, and the War Soul sword pierced towards the old man. The old man snorted, the spear tip shone with a black light, turning into a black light that filled the sky. Then 49 skulls rushed out from the spear tip, quickly spinning and interweaving together, blocking the attack of the War Soul sword. After that, the 49 skulls quickly merged into a huge skull. It opened its mouth and directly bit down on Tang Jing. Tang Jing raised his War Soul sword and tried to block it, but the sinister skull had already bitten down, directly wrapping around him and Xiao Bai. Yin Qi swirled around him, and everything around him fell into darkness. He had entered a world without the slightest bit of light, and a terrifying force attacked him from all directions. Xiao Bai flame. Tang Jing patted Xiao Bai's head, and Xiao Bai understood. With a low roar, a large ball of flames shot out, illuminating the surroundings. One could clearly see that many small empty skulls were circling around, trying to bite Tang Jing together. Seeing the flames, these skulls immediately at it, letting out sharp screams, and scrambling to escape. However, the flames were even faster, and immediately turned this part of the world into a sea of fire. All the skulls were wrapped in flames. Boom! With an explosion, the huge fire skull exploded. Tang Jing rode on Xiao Bai and jumped out, rushing towards the old man as fast as lightning. The old man shook his spear, and a series of spear arts were awe-inspiring. However, Tang Jing swung the spear away with his sword, and then grabbed onto the spear shaft. Like a vine wrapping around it, he grabbed onto the hand holding the spear. Sky swallowing technique. A terrifying light burst out from Tang Jing's eyes, and he immediately used the swallowing sky technique. The old man's power was like a flood breaking through a dam, pouring into Tang Jing's body. Ah! The old man shrieked in horror. What are you doing? What kind of cultivation technique is this? Didn't you call yourselves demons? How come you don't even recognize the heaven-swallowing technique? Tang Jing jokingly said as he madly circulated his energy, absorbing the heaven-swallowing technique even faster. Sky-swallowing technique? The old man's eyes were filled with suspicion. Could it be that the legend is true? What legend? Tang Jing asked curiously. The devil race's sky-swallowing technique is incomplete. The true sky-swallowing technique has the ability to penetrate the heavens and penetrate the earth. Absorbing other people's power is one of them. You are a righteous cultivator, how can you have the complete sky-swallowing technique? The old man's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. This discovery puzzled him no matter how hard he thought about it, and he also felt a deep sense of fear. If the legend was true, then his situation was not optimistic. Tang Jing's eyes lit up as he suddenly came to a realization. So that's how it is. The cultivation technique taken out from Langya Pavilion is indeed the second half of the sky-swallowing technique. It's just that it was placed together with the martial skill, so I really can't guess the reason behind it. Langya Pavilion, you actually went to Langya Pavilion? When the old man heard Tang Jing talking to himself, his heart almost jumped out of his throat. What is your relationship with the dragon race? Humph, there's no need to tell you about my relationship with the dragon race. Tang Jing said disdainfully. The old man's face was ashen as he stared straight at Tang Jing and said, there has always been a rumor that the true sky-swallowing technique was snatched away by the dragon race. I didn't expect it to be true. That cultivation technique was snatched away by the dragon race from the hands of your demon race? Tang Jing was very curious. Is the sky-swallowing technique really worth the dragon race making such a big fuss over it? The old man was already speechless. His psychological defenses had completely collapsed. The mysterious power that Tang Jing had displayed had given him a fatal blow, causing his hopes of survival to vanish into thin air. Seeing that the old man was unable to say anything, Tang Jing quickly absorbed the old man's cultivation technique. Not long after, the old man's cultivation technique was completely absorbed. The fourth-grade golden core cultivation technique was completely absorbed into Tang Zheng's body, and the old man instantly aged several decades. His body shriveled up, and his head tilted to the side. When the sea breeze blew, he actually turned into powder and scattered with the wind. Tang Zheng was also shocked by this scene. The power of the sky-swallowing technique was so great. Not only could it absorb cultivation technique, it could also be fatal, even turning the opponent into powder. Moreover, he also made a new discovery. This time, it was obvious that the speed at which he absorbed Song Jianan's cultivation technique was much faster than the last time. Moreover, the total power of the fourth-grade golden core was far greater than the last time. Tang Zheng had already felt that the genuine qi in his body was rising, and with the speed of lightning, he broke through to the fourth grade of the Jindan stage. Moreover, the genuine qi was still increasing, as if it was about to break through again. When the other demons saw this scene, they were all stunned. They did not hear the conversation between the two. They only saw the old man being killed by a strange method. They were all shocked. Xing Feng and the three heavenly kings saw this scene from afar and were all dumbfounded. After a long while, they came back to their senses. Xing Feng said with a gloomy face, "How did he become so powerful? I'm afraid his cultivation has already reached the Grandmaster realm." The Thunder King said with lingering fear. The Wind King and the Water King nodded at the same time. He must have reached it. How long has he been cultivating? How could his cultivation be so high? Xing Feng said angrily. No one could answer this question. Then what should we do? The Thunder King asked. Xing Feng stared at Tang Zheng from afar. Flames of hatred flickered in his eyes. He wanted nothing more than to skin Tang Zheng alive. Let our people attack the ship. Let the demons in the sky deal with him. I don't believe that these dozens of demons can't deal with him alone. Xing Feng wanted to use someone else to do his job. The three heavenly kings immediately agreed and gave the order. The remaining super soldiers and mechas in the sky abandoned their opponents and rushed toward the ship. Tang Zheng became the target of public criticism. Dozens of demons immediately surrounded him. They had all seen Tang Zheng kill the old man, so they rushed to avenge their comrade. Kill him. With this order, an earth-shattering attack arrived in front of Tang Zheng. The sky was filled with magic treasures, and the light made the world colorful. Tang Zheng had never faced so many magic treasures before. There was no lack of earth-grade and heaven-grade magic treasures. The power was definitely not to be underestimated. Moreover, he could see at a glance that 5 of them had higher cultivation than him. They were at least 4th-grade golden core or higher. The demon race was really full of talents. There were actually so many experts. With this earth-shattering attack, how could Tang Zheng fight alone? He immediately turned around and dove toward the ship. Xing Feng, you ordered your subordinates to abandon me. This is a borrowed knife to kill someone. How can I let you succeed? Tang Zheng was not stupid. He immediately saw through Xing Feng's plan. Immediately he was on guard against the dragon ancestor. He did not expect Xing Feng to dare to risk universal condemnation and play tricks at this time, intending to kill him. You do the first, I do the 15th. Let's wait and see. Xiaobai was agile and fast. He actually carried Tang Zheng out of the encirclement and chased after the dragon ancestor. Xing Feng was also wearing a flying device, so when he turned his head to look, he discovered that Tang Zheng had caught up to him. His expression became even uglier as he said, "This brat actually managed to escape and caught up to me." Boom, boom. With 2 loud sounds, 2 huge mecha landed on the deck. The deck immediately caved in, and the ship violently shook a few times, almost flipping over. The super soldiers also landed on the deck one after another. The deck had long since become a battlefield. Blood dyed the deck red. It turned out that the soldiers of the National Security Bureau who jumped out of the parachute were the first to board the deck and then fought with the demon race. However, the situation was not optimistic. The demon race on the deck was even stronger. Many of the soldiers of the National Security Bureau had already fallen on the ground, but none of them retreated. They fought to the end until their last breath. Wu had already killed a few demons. The power of the fire nether divine palm was extremely strong. Su Ingtian also completely displayed his strength. He started a massacre, and wherever he went, the demons would fall to the ground. Both sides had already killed until their eyes were red. When they saw the dragon ancestor descending from the sky, a few more demons rushed out of the ship and fought with the dragon ancestor. This was an extremely tragic and chaotic battle. The mecha's body was huge. It directly trampled a few demons into meat patties, effectively restraining the demons' attacks. There was a person standing on the mast of the ship. This person was already middle-aged. He was dressed in ancient clothes. His long hair fluttered in the wind. His face was cold and his eyes were strange. It was as if just looking at him was enough to take people's souls. He held a folding fan in his hand and gently tapped it in his palm. He coldly looked at the scene. The tragic battle was like an ancient well without any ripples. It was as if all of this could not cause a single ripple in his heart. The so-called technology of the human world is indeed powerful. They actually created such a powerful and strange thing. The 100-change Star Lord was right. This return trip is really not that easy. He muttered to himself. Suddenly he jumped from the mast and jumped towards a mecha. The folding fan in his hand fiercely hit the mecha's head. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The folding fan hit the top of the mecha's head. A large hole appeared on the sturdy top of the mecha's head. Green smoke rose. The mecha's lightning flashed and fell to the ground. It flipped over the deck and fell into the sea with a plop. With just one move, he took care of a mecha. In fact, it was difficult to deal with a mecha. It was also easy to say that it was easy. They were made of electronic equipment. As long as the main core equipment was destroyed, the mecha would lose its function and become useless. The mecha's brain was the center of the electronic equipment. As long as the brain was destroyed, everything would collapse. However, to do this was not an easy task. Not only did one have to break through the mecha's defense, one also had to break through the hard shell outside its brain. But this person did it. It was an understatement. Everyone saw this scene and their minds were greatly shaken. Especially Xing Feng. His face was gloomy as if it was covered with dark clouds. Chapter 794. Xing Feng watched as the mecha fell to the bottom of the sea. His face was ashen, and a chill ran down his spine. His lips trembled as he muttered to himself, "Just how high is this person's cultivation?" Suddenly, Xing Feng felt a gaze on him. It was as if his blood was about to freeze. He quickly looked up and saw the man with the folding fan staring at him. He wanted to shift his gaze away, but he found that his body was out of his control. He was dumbstruck and dizzy. The Thunder Sovereign noticed his abnormal state and immediately dragged him to the side, shouting, "Team leader, wake up!" Xing Feng's body trembled as if he had just woken up from a dream. He looked at the Thunder King with a pale face. His eyes have a magical power. For a moment, Xing Feng felt as if his soul was about to leave his body. The Thunder King nodded. "Yes, this person is very strange. We shouldn't provoke him. Let's choose someone else to deal with." The Wind King said worriedly, "Team leader, since the demon race has such a super expert, I'm afraid our mission this time will be ruined." Xing Feng snorted. He rolled his eyes and said meaningfully, "So what if it's ruined? We're just following orders. If we can't succeed in the end, it's not our responsibility." "Team leader, you mean that even if the demon race returns to the continent, it doesn't matter?" Xing Feng smiled meaningfully. "If the enemy is weak, then it's not impossible for us to wipe them out. But if the enemy is too strong and we insist on doing things our way, the one who will suffer losses in the end will be our dragon group. In that case, wouldn't those fellows from the National Security Bureau die of laughter?" After pausing for a moment, he added, "Moreover, the return of the demon race might not be a bad thing for us. Our dragon group can take the opportunity to ask for more resources from the country and develop faster." The three heavenly kings looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Team leader is wise. The dragon group slacked off, so their fighting strength was naturally reduced. The demon race's arrogance increased greatly. Bang! Tang Zheng also landed on the deck, and when he saw the demon clan closing in on him step by step, his expression changed greatly. The demon clan on the deck was definitely not inferior to the demon clan in the sky, especially the man with the folding fan, who was even more powerful and unfathomable. In any case, with Tang Zheng's strength, there was no way he could destroy a mech so easily in an instant. With such an expert in charge, while Tang Zheng's side didn't have a top-notch expert, wouldn't the difference in strength be obvious? The man with the folding fan leisurely strolled on the deck. With a light tap of the fan in his hand, someone immediately fell to the ground and died. There was no miss, and the killing power was astonishing. Not far from the man with the folding fan was Wu. Wu was valiant and exceptionally eye-catching. It was obvious that the man with the folding fan was targeting her. Tang Zheng's bowstring trembled. He shouted, "Wu, be careful!" Xiao Bai spat out a flame, turning the demon clan in front of him into a flaming man. Then, Tang Zheng took advantage of the opportunity and passed through the gap between the flaming man, arriving behind Wu. The folding fan man slowly extended his arm and pointed his folding fan at Xiang Wu's heart. Tang Zheng tensed up. He immediately grabbed onto Marshall's clothes and pulled back, causing Marshall to retreat. At the same time, Tang Zheng stepped forward and stood in front of Wu, protecting him. With a buzz, the heaven-shocking bow shot towards the opponent. Against an expert of this level, Tang Zheng immediately gave up on using the War Soul Sword and switched to the more powerful heaven-shocking bow and shooting sun arrows. Once the shooting sun arrows were released, the aura changed abruptly. Even the expression of the folding fan man changed slightly as he exclaimed in a low voice, "What a powerful bow and arrow!" The man with the folding fan did not retreat. He suddenly pointed out his folding fan and struck the shooting sun arrows. Clang! With a loud sound, the powerful shockwave overturned the nearby super warriors and demon clan. "Marshall, retreat!" Tang Zheng shouted. He leaped into the air. He had already drawn his bow and shot the second shooting sun arrow towards the opponent, followed by the third. The two arrows, one in front and one behind, caused the air to churn, making it difficult for people to breathe. The man with the folding fan's calm face became serious and said, "Your cultivation is not high, but you have the help of a divine weapon. This is truly rare. I want to see what kind of abilities you have." Shwa! The folding fan opened, and a painting appeared on the folding fan. At first glance, it caused one's blood to boil. There were actually a few naked women in these paintings. They were lifelike and seductive, causing people to blush and their hearts to beat faster. With a wave of the folding fan, a ray of light flashed, cleverly removing the power of the shooting sun arrows. However, the veins on the folding fan man's arms were bulging. It was obvious that it took him a lot of effort to resolve these two consecutive attacks. Tang Zheng was overwhelmed with shock. 3 consecutive arrows did not even harm the opponent's skin. Just how high was the opponent's cultivation? He was about to draw his bow again when he saw a strange light flash past the folding fan man's eyes. The light from the folding paper shone brightly, immediately attracting his gaze to the few women on the folding fan. Boom! A surge of boiling qi and blood surged out from Tang Zheng's dantian and rushed out in all directions. The pure yang energy had exploded. It was unknown what kind of evil technique the folding fan man used, but he was able to activate Tang Zheng's pure yang energy in an instant. In Tang Zheng's eyes, the women on the folding fan walked out of the painting and flew towards him. Every part of their body was exposed, causing the flames in his heart to ignite. He was dumbstruck. His cheeks were red, and his body was hot as he looked at the opponent. "Tang Zheng, what happened to you?" Marshall quickly grabbed his hand and asked, but immediately felt pain. She sucked in a breath of cold air and subconsciously let go of his hand. His hand was like a hot iron. Marshall was shocked. She had seen Tang Zheng like this before and knew that the pure yang energy had exploded. She subconsciously looked at the enemy and coincidentally saw the painting on the folding fan. Her cheeks turned red, and she secretly cursed. She was well aware that the enemy must have used some kind of sinister technique to cause Tang Zheng to fall into this predicament. During a great battle, the eruption of the pure yang energy was not a good thing. In fact, The reason why Tang Zheng was able to erupt with the pure yang energy so easily was not only because of the enemy's fuse, but also because of his own internal reasons. During this period of time, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Just now, he had broken through to the 4th stage of the Jindan stage. At the same time that his cultivation had increased greatly, his pure yang energy had also increased day by day. This time, it had finally exploded, causing him to fall into a predicament. The folding fan man sneered complacently, "After falling into my illusory god-devil realm, I want to see how you can escape. Your divine weapon is also useless." Illusory god-devil realm. Marshall's heart skipped a beat, thinking that something was wrong. If he allowed Tang Zheng to continue sinking, the consequences would be unimaginable. Tang Zheng did not react at all, as if he was a puppet. Xing Feng and his subordinates looked at each other and said in a low voice, "Tang Zheng is going to be finished. Yes, we will rush over immediately. We must ensure that he dies without a doubt." Thunder King said excitedly. He originally thought that he had missed a good opportunity, but who would have thought that the demon clan would help them? The few of them immediately and quietly moved closer to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng. Marshall endured the pain and grabbed onto Tang Zheng, but he still did not react. Seeing that his body temperature was getting higher and higher, Marshall bit his lips, the expression in his eyes fluctuating. In the end, he kissed Tang Zheng. Many people were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Please, this is a battlefield, not at home. How could they kiss? Even the folding fan man was stunned. For a moment he forgot to stop Marshall. Marshall's actions were forced. In order to suppress Tang Zheng's pure yang energy, he could only rely on the pure yin energy in her body, and this environment was obviously not suitable for him to do anything too intimate. Kissing was the best way to transmit the pure yin energy. As expected, when the pure yin energy entered Tang Zheng's body, the pure yang energy gradually calmed down, and his lifeless eyes gradually regained their luster. The illusion in front of him disappeared, and those women were no longer there. Marshall pulled him out of the illusory god-devil realm. The moment he woke up, he saw Marshall kissing his lips affectionately, a trace of coldness coming from her lips. He instantly understood that in order to save him, Marshall had no choice but to take this measure. His heart couldn't help but feel warm as he hugged her. Marshall was pleasantly surprised, her lips parted, and she cheered in surprise, "You're awake." Tang Zheng nodded, Thank you." He was very clear about the danger he was in just now. If an ordinary person were to fall into the illusory god-devil realm, they would lose their mind and give the enemy a chance to take advantage of them. But Tang Zheng was different. This would detonate the pure yang energy in his body, and in the end, cause his body to explode and die, the situation was even more serious. He couldn't help but pay 120% attention. The enemy was far stronger than he had imagined, and in a moment of carelessness, he had almost completely fallen. When the folding fan man saw that Tang Zheng had woken up, he opened his eyes wide in disbelief and screamed, "Impossible! How can your cultivation break through my illusory god-devil realm? Could it be that kiss? That kiss can break through my illusory god-devil realm?" Obviously, he had never thought that his spell would be broken so easily. In fact, if it was an ordinary person, this method would definitely not work. This method was only effective against Tang Zheng alone. The folding fan man was not clear about this point, and the gaze he used to look at Tang Zheng became even more complicated, as he muttered in his heart, "This brat's body is filled with strangeness, and is completely different from ordinary cultivators. Who exactly is he? What is his identity?" Xing Feng and the other three were originally prepared to add fuel to the fire and sneak attack Tang Zheng, but they didn't expect that when they were not far behind Tang Zheng, the other party would suddenly wake up. They immediately stopped in their tracks and looked at each other in disappointment, not daring to advance any further. Xing Feng gritted his teeth in hatred, clenched his fists, and stared at Tang Zheng's back with an ashen face. Tang Zheng did not know what the few of them were thinking. He released his martial arts and said, "You should watch the battle. After suffering a loss once, it won't be that easy this time." Tang Zheng did not look at the other party's eyes and folding fan, and immediately started to shoot arrows. 2 arrows were placed on the heaven-shocking bow, and the 2 arrows shot out together. So. 2 arrows shot towards the folding fan man side by side. The folding fan man's expression was cold as he roared, "My illusory god-devil realm was unable to do anything to you. Now, I can pinch you to death with 2 fingers, and you will die even more miserably." With that, his figure disappeared, and he rushed straight towards the sun-shooting arrow. He reached out with his hand, grabbed one of the sun-shooting arrow, and threw it to the side. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The sun-shooting arrow pierced through the chests of a few people before stopping. The other sun-shooting arrow was fiercely struck by his folding fan, directly piercing through the deck and shooting towards the bottom of the ship, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 795. The man with the folding fan waved the fan in his hand. Rays of cold light flashed and shot out from the fan, heading straight for Tang Jing. Tang Jing pushed his hand forward. A black light flashed and a wall-like shield appeared in front of him. Sacred armor shield. The Turtle Clan's ancestors' oracle bone, a heaven-level treasure. Clang, clang, clang. The sacred armor shield shook but blocked the opponent's attack. The man's eyes flashed with surprise. He exclaimed, "The Turtle Clan's oracle bone, a heaven-level treasure. Heh, you have so many treasures on you." The man could not hide the greed on his face. Tang Jing was extremely confident in the sacred armor shield. With the sacred armor shield in hand, he once again rushed forward. The battle soul sword flew out and clashed intensely with the folding fan man. Heaven-flying immortal sword technique. The man exclaimed again, "Kid, what is your relationship with Kingsaman?" Back then, the demon god also recognized the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. Therefore, Tang Jing was not surprised that the man also recognized it. As for Kingsaman, the demon god once said that Kingsaman had lost its former glory. However, it was probably true that the demon god was very familiar with the sword technique. Otherwise, there would not be so many demons who recognized it. Seeing Tang Jing remain silent, the man with the folding fan roared, "A mere remnant of the clear void sect dares to obstruct this demon lord? I will make you die without a burial." Demon god? Tang Jing's heart skipped a beat. Back then, it was the demon god. He did not know if the demon god or the demon god was stronger. The demon god took a deep breath and roared, "Demon eye soul destruction." As soon as he finished speaking, the demon god's eyes turned pitch black. Tang Jing subconsciously looked at his eyes. His mind became unstable and he had the urge to vomit. "Everyone, be careful of his eyes," Tang Jing reminded loudly. He pulled martial and quickly hid behind the sacred armor shield. He did not dare to look up. The others were not so smart. Many of them subconsciously looked at the demon god's eyes. In an instant, they stopped moving and exploded into flesh and blood. This, Tang Jing shuddered. Demonic eye soul extermination. How could this spell be so strange? Just looking at it would cause one's body to explode and die. He had never heard of or seen anything like this before. In an instant, many soldiers from the Dragon Group and the National Security Bureau exploded and died. Everyone quickly retreated and hid far away with the demon lord, not daring to look into his eyes. Su Yingtung quietly came to Tang Jing's side and asked anxiously, "What do we do now?" Tang Jing said with a solemn expression, "The enemy's strength is beyond our imagination. Although there are only 100 of them, we've lost even more people in this battle. We can't do anything alone. We have to call for backup." Originally, they had been full of confidence and thought that the 100 MO were not a threat. Now, they understood why the ancient Xiuzhe had always been in the lead. It was because their strength was really too strong. Now, with such advanced technology and weapons, they still couldn't do anything to the demon, let alone the ancient technology. Su Yingtian's mouth twitched a few times. Only he knew how it felt to watch his subordinates die in battle. He wished he could die in their place. Call for backup. Without that light shield, we can definitely get some results. Su Yingtang gritted his teeth and said, "No, do you want us to die?" Xingfeng's voice sounded behind him. Although the Dragon Group had ulterior motives, they had sacrificed a lot. When they heard that they were going to call for backup, it would be an indiscriminate attack. Everyone on the ship would suffer. Not only the demon, but also the Dragon Group and the National Security Bureau. Su Yingtan snorted and said, "You're afraid of death, but I'm not. In order to prevent these demons from entering Huaxia, what's the point of sacrificing? A soldier's duty is to protect the homeland and the people. If you're afraid of death, you're a coward." Xingfeng's face turned red and said, "You want to die, but I don't." He wouldn't sacrifice his life for others. So what if the demons invaded Huaxia? He had the Dragon Group and could fight them as equals. "Xingfeng, are you still a soldier?" Su Yingtian said angrily. "I'm not a stupid soldier. I advise you to forget about preaching to me." Xingfeng snorted. "Chief Su, why are you saying this to this kind of person? He only has himself in his heart," Tang Zheng advised. "You're right. Saying this to him is like playing the lute to a cow." Xingfeng sneered. "There really are a lot of fools in this world, pretending to be virtuous." Chief Su was too lazy to pay attention and directly asked General Luo for backup. General Luo understood the serious consequences of this and asked, "Chief Su, what about you?" "We will fight until the last moment." General Luo's heart warmed and said, "I salute you." Nothing needed to be said. As an old general, General Luo understood what it meant if he didn't fire. Su Yingtian chose to fight until the last moment, which meant he chose to sacrifice himself to stop the enemy. This kind of fearless sacrifice was worthy of respect. "Chief Su, take care," General Luo said with a choked voice. There was no doubt that the next round of attacks would be even more terrifying. It would be very difficult to survive. After ending the call, Su Yingtian's face revealed a determined expression. Xingfeng's expression changed greatly and said fiercely, "Su Yingtian, Tang Zheng, if you want to go crazy, I won't go crazy with you. Call for backup. Then we won't accompany you. Retreat." Xingfeng originally wanted to wait for an opportunity to get rid of Tang Zheng. Since Tang Zheng insisted on staying, he would definitely die, so there was no need for him to act. With the help of the demon sovereign's demonic eye soul extinguisher, the demons were like tigers that had grown wings. They forced the enemy to retreat. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, there was a sharp sound in the sky. Looking up, they saw a dense cloud of missiles flying over. "Retreat!" Xingfeng roared. All the super soldiers and the remaining mech rose into the air and flew towards the horizon. The demons had seen the power of the missiles and wanted to leave the ship to escape. Su Yingtan roared, "Stop them!" The surviving National Security Bureau soldiers all shouted and rushed towards the demons, holding them back. Boom boom boom. The missiles hit the ship and the huge explosion created a huge shockwave that instantly vaporized many people. The shockwave wreaked havoc and everyone was affected. The second Tang Zheng exploded, he quickly put Wu, Xiaobai, Su Yingtian, Kai Guibin and a few other National Security Bureau soldiers into Sumeru Tianxia and then raised the sacred armor shield. Bang! The terrifying shockwave struck the sacred armor shield and it almost flew out of his hands, protecting Tang Zheng as he flew out of the deck. Tang Zheng felt that his body was no longer his own. His internal organs were all displaced and the impact on his internal organs was terrifying. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. Plop. He fell into the sea and his vision blurred. He actually fainted and quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. The ship had already been reduced to ruins. The sea water poured into the cabin and the ship quickly sank. There were many corpses on the deck. The National Security Bureau and demons were all lying on the deck, sinking into the sea together. A person was floating on the surface of the sea, the demon lord. At this moment, his clothes were tattered and his face was covered in dust. He was in a sorry state. He looked at everything with an ashen face and gritted his teeth. Damn it, the others are all dead. Of the demons on the ship, other than him who had escaped with his life because he was the strongest, the others had all died. The demon lord finally experienced the power of modern technology. He suddenly raised his head and found that the group of deserters in the sky were still eyeing him covetously. Xingfeng and the rest also found the demon lord. Their hearts trembled. The terrifying battle strength of the demon lord, especially the last demon eye soul extermination, was still fresh in their minds. "Leader, what should we do?" the Thunder King asked. Xingfeng's expression kept changing. He looked at the demon lord from afar and hesitated for a long time. "Retreat. The demon lord isn't that easy to deal with. Don't drag us into this. Anyway, the others are already dead. The dead tell no tales, and no one will find out about us. Also, Wind King and Water King, bring the other super soldiers and mechas back to our base. Be careful not to be discovered by outsiders. I will announce to the public that all of you have been sacrificed. Thunder King will return to the carrier with me." The Thunder King understood and said, "Leader, you're worried that the National Security Bureau will be wiped out while we still have so many people left. That will arouse the suspicion of the higher-ups?" Xingfeng nodded. "Exactly. This matter can't be used against us by others. Otherwise, it will be extremely disadvantageous for us. After this battle, all the elites of the National Security Bureau will be wiped out. The world will be ours in the future." His eyes flashed with madness. "That demon lord survived and will definitely return to the country. What should we do then?" Xingfeng snorted. "Can't the power of the entire country deal with one demon lord? When the time comes, our forces will become stronger and stronger. Dealing with the demon lord will be a piece of cake." "Leader, you're far-sighted. We swear to follow you to death." The Wind King and Water King quickly said, "We'll take our people and leave first." Xingfeng nodded. He watched as his subordinates disappeared into the horizon. Then he looked at the demon lord on the surface of the sea and said, "Let's go too." Seeing that everyone in the sky had retreated, the demon lord breathed a sigh of relief. He had been seriously injured this time and needed to find a place to heal as soon as possible. Choosing a direction, he sped away on the surface of the sea and soon disappeared. General Luo looked at the battered and exhausted Xingfeng and the Thunder King. Hearing the news they brought back, he could not help but feel a deep sense of despair. He sighed faintly and said, "Chief Su and all the soldiers are martyrs. They were willing to sacrifice their lives for the country and the people. This kind of fearless spirit is the example we will always learn from." A trace of smug ridicule flashed through the depths of Xingfeng's eyes. He and the Thunder King had deliberately made themselves look battered and exhausted. They had even deliberately inflicted many wounds on themselves before returning to the aircraft carrier. They had long since prepared a set of excuses, and as expected, General Luo was fooled. "Old man Luo, you're so muddle-headed. There will come a day when your aircraft carrier fleet will also be mine." Xingfeng was secretly pleased. General Luo did not know of Xingfeng's evil thoughts and said sincerely, "Xingfeng, I will report this to the chief and ask for credit for you." Xingfeng said passionately, "As a soldier, protecting the country is what we should do. We dare not claim credit." Chapter 796. In the sea, Tang Zheng quickly sank. Darkness surrounded him, giving him a suffocating feeling. Tang Zheng was still in a coma, completely unaware that the seawater was pouring into his mouth, causing bubbles to appear one after another. If this continued for a while, he would definitely drown. Suddenly, a golden light flew out from his glabella. It gradually spread around his body and turned into pieces of golden scales. Dragon scales. Back then, he had transformed into golden dragon scales in Emperor Qin's tomb. Now, the dragon scales had appeared again and covered his entire body. The suffocating feeling immediately disappeared. It was as if he had turned into a fish, freely breathing the oxygen in the air. A shark swam over. When it saw its prey, its eyes instantly lit up. It shook its tail and flashed its 2 rows of long teeth at Tang Zheng. When the shark swam to Tang Zheng's side and opened its bloody mouth to enjoy this delicious meal, a golden light flashed and a powerful dragon aura was emitted from Tang Zheng's body. The shark's fierce eyes immediately became docile. It was as if it had turned into an obedient kitten. It carried Tang Zheng and quickly swam to the surface of the sea. A moment later, the shark carried Tang Zheng to the surface of the sea. Under the sun, the dragon scales on Tang Zheng's body shone brightly, causing the surrounding sea to become golden. On the golden sea, a shark carried Tang Jing and swam happily. There was a long school of fish following behind it. Occasionally, fish would jump out of the water. Tang Jing slowly opened his eyes. What entered his eyes was a dazzling golden light on the sea. It was so dazzling that he subconsciously covered his eyes with his hand. He saw the golden dragon scales on his arm and opened his mouth in surprise. Dragon scales, the dragon god technique is working again? He still remembered the shocking scene of him transforming into a dragon in the mausoleum. Those scales were shining with golden light, like armor, making people feel deep veneration for him. However, he only remembered that he fell into the sea and then lost consciousness. He couldn't remember anything after that. The dragon god art is truly miraculous. He clicked his tongue in admiration. The dragon god art must have played a role in his survival. He stood up and looked around. He was stunned again. The iconic fin in the water was something he had seen in many movies and TV shows. Sharks. He was shocked, but he calmed down in an instant. Ordinary people might be afraid of sharks, but he shouldn't be. Why am I standing on the back of a shark? It doesn't seem to be as vicious and bloodthirsty as the legends say. Hearing the sound of splashing water behind him, he turned his head to look and was instantly stunned again. *CK. What was going on? Why are there so many fish following behind me? The sharks and the huge school of fish were too strange. He finally realized that all of this was probably related to the dragon scales on his body. Dragon scale, you actually made a shark submit to you. You're really amazing. Tang Jing gently stroked the dragon's roar on his body and muttered to himself. After lamenting, he was faced with a huge problem. He had lost his way. There was no point of reference in this vast sea. He couldn't even tell which direction was north, south, east, and west. He had no idea where he was now. What was the final result of the battle? Has the demon race been completely wiped out? He tried hard to recall the details, but he could only remember the moment of the explosion. As for the life and death of the demons and the others, he knew nothing. I have to find a way to go back. Other than confirming the result of the battle, my shooting sun arrow must have fallen into the sea in the explosion. I have to find a way to get it back. The shooting sun arrow was extraordinary. He couldn't just leave it in the sea and leave it behind. Let's brainstorm and gather the others. There was no place to stand in the sea, but this didn't stop him. He waved to the school of fish behind him. Thousands of fish gathered together, forming a place that looked like land. Come out. Sumru's world flashed and everyone was standing on top of the school of fish. These people were sucked into Sumru's world a second before the explosion, so they weren't hurt, but they were still frightened. A second ago, they were still fighting a great battle. The next second, they entered a strange world. This world was completely different from the outside world. It was as if they were in a ghost world. It made their hair stand on end. Sumi Tian was very big. It was far bigger than the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang. These people arrived at an empty land. As far as the eye could see, it stretched as far as the eye could see. Moreover, the sky above their heads was gloomy, and they could only see some blurry things. This huge difference between before and after almost made them collapse. Fortunately, with Su Intian and Marshall's comfort, everyone was able to relax. However, no one dared to guarantee when they would be able to leave. They could only pray in their hearts. As for what kind of world this was, even Marshall couldn't say. Marshall was very worried about what would happen to Tang Jing in the explosion. Would he be injured? Or would he... No, she quickly rejected this idea. He was blessed by the heavens. He definitely wouldn't be able to turn misfortune into fortune. However, her heart was still uneasy. Every minute and every second felt like torture. After an unknown period of time, to everyone, it felt like a century. Suddenly, the scene in front of them changed. In the next second, they left that strange world and arrived above the vast sea. Some of them couldn't help but scream, "Tang Jing!" Marshall locked onto the person who was standing not far away and had always been worried about him. He rushed over like the wind and hugged him tightly, not letting go. The feeling of being separated by life and death just now was too unbearable. It was as if her life had been shattered into pieces. Seeing Tang Jing again, her life was instantly pieced back together. The corner of Tang Jing's mouth slightly curved into a smile, patted her back, and comforted her. "Am I not fine? Don't worry." The explosion was so powerful. "Are you injured?" Marshall started to search his body, as if he was afraid that he would lose an arm or a leg, or that he would be injured somewhere. "I'm really fine." Tang Jing raised his hands, allowing her to check them. Actually, when he was unconscious, he had suffered quite a few injuries. However, ever since the dragon scales grew, his injuries had miraculously healed. "What is this on your body?" Only then did Marshall notice the dragon scales on his body. He gently caressed them and asked curiously. The others also stared at him. At the moment he was too dazzling. The golden light shone like a golden man made of gold. Especially those dragon scales, they gave off an incomparably intimidating aura. However, they had never seen a golden dragon before, so they couldn't help but think that those were dragon scales. But without a doubt, Tang Jing, who was currently emitting a dragon's might, gave people a deep impression, causing them to have the urge to kowtow to him. Even Su Yingtian, who had been in a high position for many years, had an illusion. He couldn't help but be overwhelmed with shock. His eyes stared straight at Tang Jing, as if he wanted to remember every single detail. After checking for a long time and confirming that Tang Jing was unharmed, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "I'm really fine." "That's great." Tang Jing smiled faintly, then looked at the crowd and asked, "Is everyone all right?" They were all very grateful to Tang Jing for lending a helping hand at the critical moment. Otherwise, no one would be able to stand here so steadily. Many people subconsciously lowered their heads to look, thinking that the feeling of being on solid ground was great. However, with just a glance, everyone was stunned. Then cries of alarm rang out from all directions. "We are in the sea, there are fish beneath our feet, so many fish. Look at Tang Jing, there's a shark beneath his feet. It's really a shark." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they looked at Tang Jing with mixed feelings. Sharks and so many fish actually listened to his words. This is too miraculous. Everyone clicked their tongues in admiration. Looking at the astonished expressions of the crowd, the corners of Wu's mouth couldn't help but curl up into a smile. "Tang Jing, what was the result of the battle?" Su Yingtian was the first to recover from his shock. With a cold expression he asked, "Where are we now?" Tang Jing's expression became serious and said, "Director Su, I don't know what happened to the ship in the end. I was unconscious at the time. When I woke up, I was in this vast sea, lost my way, and couldn't find any traces of the ship." "No worries, we have a way." Su Yingtian waved his hand and nodded to his subordinates. Then, someone took out a simple device and quickly determined their position. However, the other party's expression was clearly strange. He hesitated and said, "Director Su, we are now in the South Sea." "South Sea?" Everyone cried out in alarm at the same time. The battle clearly happened in the East Sea, which was 108,000 miles away from the South Sea. How did they end up in the South Sea? Everyone tacitly looked at Tang Jing. Tang Jing laughed bitterly, "I don't know either." He really didn't know. He still wanted to go back and find the sun shooting arrows, but now that he had come to the South Sea in a daze, didn't that mean that this plan was ruined? Sun shooting arrows, I have to be careful when using them in the future. Otherwise, they will all be wasted. This is a life-saving treasure, I can't be careless. Let's go ashore and return home first. Su Yingtian commanded, and then pointed in a direction. Tang Jing understood and immediately commanded the shark to take the lead. The fish followed behind and swam towards the mainland. With just a thought, the fish seemed to have received the order and moved towards the target. Su Yingtian came in front of Tang Jing and asked in a low voice, "What about the other demons? Especially that demon sovereign, did he die or not?" The demon sovereign had left a deep impression on Su Yingtian. After escaping from death, he remembered his responsibility and mission. Tang Jing solemnly shook his head, "I don't know. At that time, I was already unconscious." However, with such a terrifying explosion, if it was an ordinary demon, I'm afraid they would have died on the spot. Su Yingtian's mind was restless as he said, "You must not let your guard down. The battle this time is very tough and very cruel. Since we can survive, maybe the demons also have a way to avoid this disaster. Therefore, this is still not the final victory. Only by completely wiping out the demon race can we succeed." Tang Zheng and the others deeply agreed and nodded their heads, one after another agreeing. Chapter 797. Xing Feng returned to the capital covered in scars and received a high-level reception from the chief, who gave him full recognition. Xing Feng reported that the others were all wiped out and died bravely. As for the demons, they were all wiped out. Although the chief felt that it was a pity that so many people died, especially Su Yingtian and Tang Jing, he sighed. But he also felt gratified. At least, the sacrifices of so many people were worth it. The demons were completely wiped out, and the dangerous factor was eliminated. Xing Feng received a grand reward. The National Security Bureau was leaderless and suffered heavy losses. The rest were all merged into the Dragon Group, and the Dragon Group ushered in a situation where it was the strongest. Xing Feng dealt with some disobedient members of the National Security Bureau at lightning speed, and then logically took the National Security Bureau under his command. He was proud of his success, and everyone had to bow down to him because he enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. The news of Tang Zheng's death also reached Yanqing University, but it did not spread. However, the university cancelled his student status. As for Fang Shishir and Yi Dingdang, it was as if they were struck by lightning. They were dumbfounded. Didn't he promise that he would come back safe and sound? Why did the bad news suddenly come? The few women in the villa, except for the Empyrean fairy, acted as if nothing had happened, and Nana did not know about it. Fang Shishir, Lu Qingmei, and Princess and washed their faces with tears all day. If it were not for the Empyrean fairy stopping her, Fang Shishir would probably have gone to find Tang Jing. If he was alive, she wanted to see him. If he was dead, she wanted to see his corpse. If she did not see Tang Zheng's corpse, no matter what the officials said, she would not believe it. The news of Tang Zheng's death spread in the upper-class circle of the capital. The reactions were different. Some people celebrated and drank for 3 days, such as the Song family, the Chu family, and the Ye family. There were also people who were grieving, such as Yi Tianlei and his wife. As for the Yen family, their reaction was the most peculiar. In the eyes of the outside world, they were calm, as if they didn't know about Tang Zheng's death. Many people secretly cursed. In the past, the Yen family and Tang Zheng had a very good relationship, but they never thought that the Yen family would be so indifferent. They were too heartless. Was this really the true situation of the Yen family? Although Yen Qingyi had gone to the northwestern desert to search for the Tree of Life, she had also heard of this bad news. She hurriedly reminded her family not to believe such baseless rumors. Tang Zheng was definitely not dead. He was the savior of the world. How could he die so easily? Therefore, the Yen family didn't believe the news from the beginning to the end. Of course, they wouldn't have any extreme reaction. They knew Tang Zheng's strength better than ordinary people and knew how powerful he was. Therefore, at the critical moment, the Yen family chose to believe in Tang Zheng and also believed in Yen Qingyi. The Song family celebrated as if it was the new year. They couldn't wait to hang up red lanterns and light firecrackers to celebrate. Ever since the death of Jianshi San, the Song family had been like stray dogs, hiding everywhere and not daring to show themselves. They were deeply afraid that Tang Zheng would come knocking on their door for revenge. Now it seems that there is no need to hide anymore. With Tang Zheng dead, the Song family's danger alarm has been lifted. Immediately, the Song family contacted the Chu family and the Ye family, forming a huge new alliance. Song Yu was actually engaged to Yi Meiyu, using marriage as a method to consolidate the relationship between the two families. Song Yu did not form a good relationship with Yi Dingdang, and in the end, allowed Yi Meiyu to successfully replace him. Everyone was happy. Song Yu was well aware of Yi Meiyu's romantic reputation, but she could only grit her teeth and swallow it. This was the people of a large family. When necessary, they had to compromise. Marriage was not a marriage of love, but an exchange of benefits. Yi Tianlei's family of 3 had already become independent from the Ye family, so they naturally wouldn't worry about these messy matters. However, their situation wasn't good either. After all, this was the capital, and if the 3 great families were to interfere, it would be extremely difficult for them to do anything. But this instead aroused Yi Tianlei's ambition. Since you guys are deliberately obstructing me, then I will do something and let you guys take a look. Coincidentally, Tang Zheng's company was lacking people, so Yi Tianlei resolutely joined Tang Zheng's business empire. In the eyes of many people, this was a crazy move, and it was extremely stupid. Because Tang Zheng was already dead, then wouldn't his business empire be scattered like monkeys when the wall falls? If he joined at this time, he would be courting death. However, Tianlei turned a deaf ear to him, because he had an idea. Since Tang Zheng had helped him so much, if he could support this last bit of his family business, then it would be the greatest gratitude to Tang Zheng. With the full support of Feng Xinyang and Yi Dingdang, Yi Tianlei gradually gained a foothold in the company. Mu Hongyan returned from Europe, and the news of Tang Zheng's death also spread to the royal families of Europe. The royal families who had originally made an alliance with Tang Zheng went back on their words and forgot their promises. The King of Sweden also wanted to go back on his words, but under the strong insistence of his daughter, and he didn't break the contract. For the time being, the group had only started business in Sweden, but it was difficult to move forward. In order to consolidate the hearts of the group, Mu Hongyan wiped away her tears and returned to the capital without stopping. With her and Yi Tianlei's swift and decisive means, the group temporarily stabilized. However, many people with discerning eyes understood that the 3 great families would definitely not let them go. A storm was coming. The Long family in Dianan even sent someone to extend an olive branch to Mu Hongyan, asking her to return to the Long family. However, she refused without hesitation, causing the Long family to return with hatred. In this precarious situation, the Yen family righteously made a move and announced to the outside world that they would increase the strength and depth of their cooperation with Tang Zheng's group. This was an all-round support, which was like sending charcoal in snowy weather. Many of the rascals who were ready to make trouble gave up again. Only the Song, Chu, and Yi families snorted and thought that this was the dying struggle of the Yen family, which was useless. The 2 sides competed with each other in the business world and began to compete with each other, with wins and losses. Mu Hongyan's genius business mind played a role. She led the group to attack cities and seize territories in the business world, even more aggressive than before. Mu Hongyan was trying hard to hold on. Without Tang Zheng at the helm, if the group lost its aggressiveness, it would be like a sheep, and anyone would want to take a bite. She knew this very well, so she changed her normal state. After the first few days of crying and heartbroken, although the villa was still gloomy, the women had gradually learned to be strong. They put away the sadness in their hearts and changed to their own ways to support the family. Fang Shishir insisted on studying every day, because this was both her wish and Tang Zheng's wish. She didn't want to let Tang Zheng down. Moreover, she always had an obsession in her heart. She believed that Tang Zheng would come back to find her. She and Tang Zheng went through thick and thin together. Even with his strength, she firmly believed that he must still be alive somewhere in the world, but she couldn't get in touch with him. Lu Qingmei resolutely quit her original job and chose to join Tang Zheng's group. Although her business ability couldn't be compared with Mu Hongyan's, she also wanted to do her part. Every day, she worked in the company until late at night before going home. She even spent the night in the company because she felt that Tang Zheng was by her side when she was in the company. She needed this feeling too much. Fang Shishir was a very observant person. From Lu Qingmei's choice, she could see some clues. She also guessed the relationship between Lu Qingmei and Tang Zheng, but she didn't say anything. Princess Anne was asked to go back to China, but she refused without any hesitation. She continued to study in Yenching University. Empyrean Fairy was the calmest. Every day, she would still guide Nana's cultivation. It was as if the news of Tang Zheng's death didn't affect her at all. In fact, it was not that she was cold-blooded. It was just that she knew the power of a Skywalker better than anyone else. If a Skywalker died so easily, then they wouldn't be called Skywalkers. Empyrean Fairy looked at the reactions of the women in the family with great interest. She couldn't help but sigh. They were all heroes among women, and they were not inferior to men at all. Tang Zheng was really lucky to have so many outstanding women as his companions. He didn't know how many men would be envious of him. In the boundless sea, Tang Zheng and his group landed on a remote cliff. They did not make a sound and no one discovered their whereabouts. It had been more than a month since the battle. This was something that Tang Zheng discovered later. He had been sleeping at the bottom of the sea for a very long time. It was much longer than he had thought. Originally, he wanted to contact his family, but he was stopped by Su Yingtian. Su Yingtian was a cunning old man. He knew that if they went missing for more than a month, they would definitely be judged as dead. Then it would cause a chain reaction. When the airship exploded, the people from the dragon group had all escaped. This made Su Yingtian furious. He had made up his mind to completely break off his relationship with Xingfeng. Su Yingtian was very clear about Xingfeng's personality. This kind of person would definitely conceal the truth and exaggerate things to gain credit for himself. If he contacted the capital in time, Xingfeng would definitely not have the time to be arrogant and carry out his scheme. Su Yingtian wanted to drag things out on purpose. He wanted Xingfeng to be arrogant and think that no one in the world could stop him from advancing. If God wants to destroy a man, he must first make him crazy. Then he would make mistakes. The higher he climbed, the harder he would fall when the truth was revealed. His true colors would be revealed, and no one would be able to protect him at that time. This time, Su Yingtian wanted to hit Xingfeng's weak spot. He wanted to kill him with one move and make him unable to jump up in the future. Tang Zheng listened to Su Yingtian's analysis and chose to agree. Xingfeng was like a fly that kept buzzing in his ear. He was so annoyed that he wanted to get rid of him long ago. Now that he had found an opportunity to do so, it was naturally better than killing him directly. That would only make people talk. The National Security Bureau has a secret base here. We can go there first and then secretly return to the capital. If we are exposed in advance, Xingfeng will have time to find a countermeasure. Then, all our efforts will be for naught, Su Yingtian said. Chapter 798. Looking at the empty house, Su Yingtian said in surprise, "This? How could there be no one here? I think they have already retreated." Tang Zheng walked around in a circle and analyzed. Withdrawn? Su Yingtian frowned. How could such an important stronghold be withdrawn? He lowered his head and thought for a moment, then said, "Something must have happened. No matter what it is, let's go to the capital and find out the truth." Tang Zheng shrugged and said indifferently, although there was no stronghold, the National Security Bureau was still a special agent organization, so they still found a means of transportation and drove to the capital. Planes and trains would expose their whereabouts, so it was safest to drive by themselves. Along the way, Su Yingtian did not give up and went to find a few more secret strongholds. If they were not demolished, they were abandoned, and the people were gone. He felt that the situation was serious and muttered, "There must be a change in the National Security Bureau. No matter what happened, you're back, so all the rascals have nowhere to hide." Tang Zheng comforted. Su Yingtian nodded and temporarily put his heart back into his stomach. The journey was unimpeded from the south to the north and back to the capital. The two sides parted ways. Tang Zheng went home, while Su Yingtian went back to the National Security Bureau headquarters and agreed that when Su Yingtian pointed out Xingfeng, Tang Zheng would testify. After not seeing his family for more than a month, Tang Zheng's longing was like a torrential river. He stepped on the gas and sped home. Marshall looked at his impatient expression and couldn't help but recall the operation this time. Coming from the fire, going into the water, it was really going through fire and water. Although it was extremely dangerous, Marshall enjoyed this kind of two-person world. As soon as she returned home, Tang Zheng no longer belonged to her alone. The car stopped in front of the villa. Tang Jing jumped out of the car and rushed in. The large living room was empty. "Where is he?" Tang Jing shouted, but no one answered. His heart skipped a beat and he had a bad feeling. Did something happen at home? That's not right. With the Empyrean fairy around, how could anything go wrong? Besides, there are no signs of a fight at home. He hurriedly rushed into each room to search. The furniture and clothes were all there, but there was no one. Moreover, there were leftovers in the fridge. Obviously, everyone was still living here. He heaved a sigh of relief. It was strange that everyone had disappeared in broad daylight. Even the Empyrean fairy and Nana were nowhere to be found. Weren't they cultivating at home? "Hey, I'll prepare a table of delicious food. When they come back, I'll give them a surprise." Tang Zheng's phone rang just as he was about to move his head. It was a call from Su Yingtian. "Hello, Chief Su." Before Tang Zheng could finish, he was interrupted by Su Yingtian. He shouted anxiously, "Tang Zheng, save us." Beep beep. The line was disconnected. Tang Zheng's heart was in suspense. Didn't Su Yingtian return to the headquarters of the National Security Bureau? Why did he call for help for no reason? Something must have gone wrong. Tang Jing muttered to himself with a grim expression. He tried to call back, but found that he could not get through. "Marshal, let's go find Chief Su and the others first." Tang Jing did not bother to show off his culinary skills as he turned around and rushed into the car. "I'll go too." Marshal chased after him. Tang Jing drove the car and quickly disappeared from the door. The car shuttled through the traffic at lightning speed. Tang Zheng was burning with anxiety. Su Yingtian had called for help, so there must be a big problem. However, the two sides had not been separated for long, and this was the capital, which could be considered Su Yingtian's territory. How could there be a problem? "Where are we going to find him?" Marshal asked. Tang Zheng muttered to himself and said, "The headquarters of the National Security Bureau." Since they went to the headquarters of the National Security Bureau, then they might have encountered danger there. A moment later, the car stopped in front of the headquarters of the National Security Bureau. Tang Zheng had been here several times, and even the guard recognized him. However, the guard this time was obviously a new face. He stopped the two of them and asked cautiously, "Who are you looking for?" "We're looking for Chief Su," Tang Zheng said. The guard's expression changed slightly and said, "So you're looking for Chief Su? Then come with me." The two of them followed the guard into the building. Looking up, Tang Jing felt that something was strange, but he could not say what it was. "How long has Chief Su been back?" Tang Jing asked without batting an eyelid. "It's been a while." The guard hesitated for a moment before replying. Tang Jing frowned and asked, "Is Chief Su all right?" "Of course he's fine," the guard said without hesitation. Tang Jing and Marshall quietly looked at each other and saw the vigilance in each other's eyes. There was something wrong with this place. Su Yingtian had clearly called for help. How could there be no problem? Furthermore, the guard said that he had returned. With all sorts of contradictions intertwined, something must have happened. The two of them were not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, they were prepared to wait and see. "We're not going to Chief Su's office, are we?" Looking at the two sides that were getting more and more gloomy, Tang Jing broke the silence and asked. The guard sped up and said, "Chief Su is in the innermost part." This was a long corridor. The end was pitch black and it was impossible to see anything clearly. "Stop him." Tang Jing snorted and made a move like lightning. The guard seemed to have guessed his actions. With a tap of his foot, he rushed forward and dodged the grab. Tang Jing did not expect the other party to react so quickly and actually dodge the attack. "Stop, where do you think you're going?" Tang Jing once again made his move. His speed was as fast as lightning. The guard was finally unable to escape and fell into the palm of Tang Jing's hand. "Where's Chief Su? Where is he?" Tang Jing's face was ashen. It was extremely frightening. The guard panicked. His eyes rolled around and said, "I don't know." "You don't know? I have a way to find out." Tang Jing snorted in disdain. Just as he was about to use the soul-searching technique, many people suddenly appeared from both sides and attacked him fiercely. "There's an ambush." Tang Jing shouted and blocked the door guard in front of him. A bullet actually hit the door guard in the head, exploding his head and killing him on the spot. Puff puff puff. In all directions, the sound of bullets passing through silencers rose and fell. In the capital, the sound of gunfire would definitely cause panic, so these people specially prepared silencers. The bullets brushed past the two of them. The two of them were like dancing birds, passing through the gaps in their own bodies. One in front and one behind, they respectively rushed towards their targets. Bang bang bang. Tang Jing used his fists and Marshall used his fire underworld divine palm, striking many enemies. The two of them took this opportunity to rush backwards in an attempt to escape the building. Stop, you're still thinking of escaping after coming here? Suddenly, a thunderous roar exploded. A familiar person walked out from the end of the tunnel. Tang Jing's pupils constricted as he shouted, "Wind King!" Wind King looked at Tang Jing and Marshall with a complicated expression. He said in bewilderment, "The two of you actually didn't die. It seems like you escaped the explosion with Su Yingtian. Where's Chief Su? You'll be reunited very soon. It's just that it's in the underworld." Wind King said with killing intent, "Open fire." Puff puff puff. Bullets that blotted out the sky and covered the earth flew over. Tang Jing immediately summoned his holy armor shield. Ping 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 ping. Like rain hitting a banana leaf, the bullets struck the holy armor shield but did not leave a single mark. Instead, the rebounding bullets hit many people. The National Security Bureau has been replaced by people from the Dragon Group. What is going on? Tang Jing asked loudly. The National Security Bureau has already become history. In the future, it will be the world of the Dragon Group. Last time, you didn't die, but this time, you can forget about living. The Wind King flaunted his might and stretched out his hand. A tornado gradually condensed in his palm. Although it was only a miniature tornado, one could clearly sense the might it contained. Back then, Fire King died in your hands. Today, I will take revenge for Fire King. With that said, Wind King swung his hand forward. The tornado in his palm flew out and quickly grew in size, flying horizontally towards Tang Jing and Marshall. The tornado spun rapidly, and even the bullets that were shot out were sucked into it. In an instant, it arrived in front of Tang Jing. Tang Jing kept his holy armor shield and with a move of the heaven-flying immortal sword technique, the War Soul sword fiercely pierced into the center of the tornado. The tornado quickly moved forward around the War Soul sword, trying to suck in Tang Jing's entire body. Tang Jing's expression turned cold and said, "Insignificant skill." The War Soul sword shone brightly, like 10,000 rays of multicolored light soaring into the sky, instantly piercing through the tornado. With a boom, the tornado collapsed and disappeared without a trace. But before Tang Jing could even heave a sigh of relief, he discovered that there were small tornadoes all around him. He was in the center of the storm, and a strong tearing force came from all directions, as if it wanted to tear him apart. Tang Jing started to spin on the spot, but the direction of the tornado was completely opposite. Then, he heard the swishing sounds of the War Soul sword as well as a glaring sword light. Every tornado was struck several times by the War Soul sword. With a few rumbling sounds, the tornadoes shattered into pieces. Tang Jing's figure flashed, holding onto the War Soul sword. He pierced towards the Wind King, man and sword as one. The Wind King's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his hands, a huge tornado wrapped around him, forming a sturdy defense. The War Soul sword struck the tornado. Its defensive power was astonishing, and it actually stopped the War Soul sword from advancing any further. Tang Jing smirked in disdain. "You want to block my War Soul sword with this little bit of defensive power?" The innate chi crazily poured into the War Soul sword. In that instant, the War Soul sword's light exploded and pierced into the tornado like tofu. The tornado was immediately dyed blood red. The fresh blood followed the tornado and spun rapidly. In an instant, it turned into a tornado formed from fresh blood. However, the wind's speed gradually weakened. Not long later, the tornado disappeared, leaving behind a pool of blood on the ground. In the pool of blood, The Wind King had already lost his life and was lying on the ground in a sorry state. However, his eyes were sunken in and his entire body was skin and bones. He was completely different from before, like a dried-up mummy. It turned out that Tang Zheng's sword had pierced his body, and then all the blood had been sucked out by the tornado. There was not a single drop of blood on his body. Chapter 799. When the others saw the Wind King's death, their faces all changed and they all retreated. Tang Zheng glanced at the crowd and rushed towards the end of the tunnel with Marshall. The Wind King had rushed out from there, so maybe Su Yingtian was there. The people around could not resist the order and rushed over while shouting. Puff, puff, puff. The war spirit sword flashed and the people in front fell to the ground. Blood splattered everywhere and formed a river. Tang Zheng and Marshall rushed through the tunnel like a whirlwind and arrived at the basement. In front of them was a mess. The ground and walls were filled with traces of battle and mottled with blood. You killed all my soldiers. I will perish together with you. Su Yingtian's heart-wrenching voice faintly sounded out. Tang Zheng and Marshall looked at each other and their hearts skipped a beat. Su Yingtian was not dead, but the situation was not optimistic. His men were all dead. Bang! Tang Zheng flew and kicked a huge iron door, causing it to fall to the ground. The smell of blood assailed his nostrils, causing him to involuntarily cough. Tang Zheng quickly locked onto Su Yingtian, who was heavily surrounded. He was fighting a bloody battle. His clothes were already dyed red with blood and he was riddled with wounds. He was in a sorry state, like a trapped beast. There were quite a few people on the ground. There were soldiers from the National Security Bureau and also people from the Dragon Group. The one leading the attack was the Water King. Su Yingtian was already exhausted. If not for his tenacious willpower, he would have already fallen. He clenched his teeth and his eyes almost popped out. Even if he died, he would remember these people's hateful faces. In his next life, he would also take revenge. His heart was bleeding. It was worse than death. Previously, he had led his subordinates back to the National Security Bureau headquarters. The guard had lied and said that the leader wanted to meet them. The group of people were brought to the basement and he finally discovered something strange. At this time, the enemy suddenly attacked. They were caught off guard, and were caught completely off guard. Their casualties were disastrous, but no one cowered. Instead, they continued to persevere, fighting until their last breath. Su Yingtian already understood that this was a scheme of the Dragon Group's Xing Feng. He was definitely afraid that his misdeeds would be exposed, so he didn't hesitate to kill everyone involved. Such sinister intentions were rarely seen in this world. Su Yingtian refused to give up, so he fought back and even asked Tang Zheng for help. Seeing the people around him fall down one by one, he felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. When he was finally the only one left, he almost despaired. The heavens were blind. Could it be that Xing Feng was allowed to deceive everyone and run amok? He was unwilling to give up. His strong willpower supported him and prevented him from collapsing immediately. He subconsciously counterattacked the attacks coming from all directions. This was the scene that Tang Zheng saw. That unyielding body made his heart ache, and a monstrous anger rushed to his brain. He flew into a rage and said, "Go to hell." Shwa shwa shwa. The outermost super soldiers were all struck by the battle soul sword and fell to the ground dead. When the others saw this, they scattered in all directions. The Water King glared and said, "Tang Zheng, you didn't die either." "I won't die even if you die." Tang Zheng said coldly, "Back then, your Dragon Group people escaped, and now you've come to the National Security Bureau. No matter what, you people can forget about leaving this door. Heng, you only have 3 people. The entire National Security Bureau headquarters are our people. Who do you think has a higher chance of winning?" The Water King said disdainfully. Tang Zheng coldly laughed. Victory is not decided by the number of people. No matter how many people there are, they are all chickens and dogs, unable to withstand a single blow. Is that so? Then we'll kill you all. Then no one will know what happened on the ocean. Group leader Xing has always wanted you dead. There is a path to heaven but you don't want to take it. There is no door to hell but you insist on barging in. Today, I'll let you all perish together. The Water King said arrogantly. Although he had seen Tang Jing fight before, he had never truly fought with him. In his heart, he believed that since he had the advantage in numbers, dealing with Tang Jing would not be a problem. This was not like when they were on the ocean. They had to hide and act quietly. Now, they were brazen and could go all out. Tang Jing was too lazy to waste words with him. With a loud roar, he rushed forward. Marshall was the same. Every time the fire underworld palm struck a person, their chest would feel like it was on fire. Not only would it cave in, but it would also leave behind a burning handprint. When Su Yingtian saw that the reinforcements had arrived, tears almost flowed out of his eyes. He roared, "Tang Jing, kill them all and take revenge for the dead." The Water King blocked Tang Jing. His hands formed claws, and 2 balls of water appeared in his palms. Then he pushed them forward, and the balls of water transformed into 2 water dragons. One on the left and one on the right, they rushed towards Tang Jing. Tang Jing bellowed. The War Soul Sword released a dazzling light that tangled with the water dragons. Water was the source of all living things and had a myriad of forms. Thus, when the War Soul Sword slashed onto the water dragon did not dissipate. Instead, it wrapped around the War Soul Sword, causing Tang Jing's attack to disappear. His strength is actually higher than the Wind King's. Tang Jing's gaze turned cold. He immediately kept the War Soul Sword back into the Sumer world. He reached out with both hands and grabbed the water dragon. Bang! The water dragon was powerful and heavy, shaking Tang Jing's palm until it seemed like it was about to split open. However, the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile and said, "Let's see how much water you can gather." As soon as he finished speaking, a black hole appeared in his palm. Swallowing the Heavens technique. This time, he did not use the Swallowing Heavens technique's absorption technique. Instead, he used the most fundamental power of the Swallowing Heavens technique. With a flash of black light, the roaring water dragon was sucked into the black hole and disappeared. This Water King was stunned for a moment, then said angrily, "What kind of technique is this? Swallowing the Heavens technique? It's really a waste of talent to deal with you." Tang Jing rushed forward. Black light flickered in his 2 palms, causing Water King to feel uneasy. The people around Water King roared, "What are you all still standing there for? Watching the show?" The super soldier pulled the trigger, and bullets poured out, all of them heading towards Tang Jing's body. Tang Jing waved his hands, and all the bullets disappeared, swallowed by the Swallowing the Heavens technique. Everyone looked at the black hole in his palm in fear. They didn't know where the bullets were sucked to. Tang Jing couldn't be bothered with the small shrimps. He rubbed his body and pounced towards Water King. Water King condensed another ball of water in his hand. With a flick of his finger, it turned into water droplets that filled the sky. They were like arrows that blotted out the sky, and their power was not to be underestimated. Tang Jing used the same trick again. The black light in his palm shone brightly, and the black hole also expanded a bit. It sucked all the water droplets into the black hole, and then forced the Water King into a corner. Water King was good at using water to attack because he had a way to collect water vapor in the air. Moreover, this water vapor could be recycled and used continuously. Therefore, his attacks could be continuous. Although this basement was humid and there was a lot of water vapor in the air, Tang Jing directly sucked the water into the black hole, and the water vapor in this space suddenly decreased. If the Water King wanted to condense water vapor to attack again, it would be harder than ascending to the sky. The Water King had never encountered such a situation. In the world, water vapor was endless. However, he didn't expect that in this small world, all the water vapor would be sucked away by Tang Jing. He couldn't reuse it at all. Without the water vapor, his strength was like a castle in the air. It looked good, but it was useless. Therefore, when Tang Jing attacked again, he could only use the remaining water vapor in the air to counterattack. 2 egg-sized water balls appeared in his palm. Before he attacked, Tang Jing's palm was in front of him. With a wave of his hand, The water balls were sucked into the black hole and disappeared without a trace. "You bully!" The Water King wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was no longer as arrogant as before. This move almost made him collapse. "Not only am I bullying you, but I'm also going to kill you." Tang Zheng's palm hit the Water King's chest. The Water King flew out like a kite with a broken string, landing beside Su Yingtian's feet. Seeing this, Su Yingtian hysterically roared and grabbed the Water King's head. With a crack, he directly twisted the Water King's head off, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Seeing Su Yingtian's crazed and pained appearance, Tang Jing couldn't help but sigh. This time, the blow to Su Yingtian was too big. Not only was his nest taken over, even his last remaining subordinates had died in front of him. This kind of blow was too big. Tang Jing even saw Kai Guibin's body among the pile of corpses. Back then, he was the second in command of the Dragon Group, but now he had died at the hands of the Dragon Group. Xing Feng didn't even let him go. He was truly too vicious. Su Yingtian stared blankly at the bloody head in his hand. As if possessed, he muttered to himself, "Brothers, I've taken revenge for you." After a pause, he continued, "No, I don't have the right to take revenge for you. My greatest enemy is Xing Feng. Only when he's dead can you rest in peace." Su Yingtian had already heard from the Water King that the National Security Bureau had been abolished and merged into the Dragon Group. Now, the Dragon Group was the only one in power. Xing Feng's power had reached an unprecedented peak. Wanting to kill Xing Feng was no longer an easy matter, but for the sake of his fallen brothers, Su Yingtian resolutely decided to get rid of Xing Feng. In the past, he often advised Tang Jing not to lower himself to Xing Feng's level. But now, he felt that those words were bullshit. Xing Feng deserved to die. If he didn't kill him, he wasn't human. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the other super warriors. He suddenly threw the head in his hand and roared, "Kill!" Then he pounced towards them like a madman. He seemed to have regained his fighting strength once again as he killed his enemies until they threw away their armor. The members of the Dragon Group were like a group of dragons without a leader as they scattered in all directions. Su Yingnan chased after them relentlessly as he roared, "Kill, kill, kill!" Tang Zheng and Marshall did not stop either. These super warriors were no longer true soldiers of the country, but Xing Feng's private army. Moreover, they had killed so many people from the National Security Bureau, so killing them was only right. Under the pursuit of the three of them, most of the super warriors did not manage to escape. In the end, the National Security Bureau's headquarters building was filled with blood and corpses. It was like hell on earth. Su Yingtian stood in the middle of the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood. His entire body seemed to have been fished out of blood. His eyes were lifeless as he looked at everything in front of him, at the building. "Ha!" he laughed, his laughter shaking the heavens. Tang Jing let out a long sigh. He knew that he had changed, especially when he was chasing after them, not leaving a single one alive. Furthermore, he had killed the most people, and was like a completely different person from before. Chapter 800. Su Yingtian fell into a pool of blood. Tang Zheng quickly rushed over and found that he was already on his last breath. In the battle just now, he had overdrawn his life force. After the battle ended, his life force was exhausted and there was no way to save him. Tang Zheng did not think that he would be so decisive. He sighed and regretfully said, "Why do you have to do this?" Su Yingtian smiled and weakly said, "The National Security Bureau is my lifeblood. Without it, how can I live in this world? It's just a pity that I didn't fulfill my oath and didn't kill that traitor Xing Feng." Cough, cough, cough. Su Yingtian violently coughed as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. "Don't say any more. I understand. I'll kill Xing Feng. I'll make him pay for the blood of those who died." Tang Jing said resolutely as he gritted his teeth. "Tang Jing, thank you. This time we made such a big fuss that the higher-ups will definitely blame us. You've been implicated by me." Su Yingtian was someone from the government and was very clear about the rules of the government. This time, such a major incident had happened in the capital, and with the involvement of the National Security Agency and the Dragon Group, it was definitely a major event that would shock the entire government. Even if Su Yingtian was in the right, he would still be punished. It was because he was clear about this point that he couldn't bear to see his brothers die unjustly. Therefore, he decided to go on a killing spree and use blood to avenge them. Xing Feng will definitely distort black and white. In this aspect, he is much better than you. Therefore, you have to be careful. Not only do you have to be careful of Xing Feng, but you also have to be careful of the government. These words were from the bottom of his heart. Tang Zheng's heart moved as he heavily nodded. Chief Su, don't worry. Xing Feng won't be able to jump around for long. I believe you. It's just that when facing the government, they have to be courteous. After all, they were blinded by Xing Feng. The chief is still a good leader who empathizes with the suffering of the people. Su Yingtian was deeply afraid that Tang Zheng would get angry and start a fight with the bureau chief. That would be treason, which would go against Su Yingtian's expectations. Moreover, it would also be disadvantageous to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng nodded. Although there are many dissatisfactions in this country, overall, it is developing in a good direction. This shows that the general direction of the highest leader is right and good overall. It's just that there are too many people who deceive their superiors and deceive their subordinates. Indeed, we can't completely blame the highest-ranking leader. I understand. It's good that you understand. I won't be able to see the day you stand at the top of the world with my own eyes, but I believe that you will definitely reach that step. Farewell. Su Yingtian finished speaking and closed his eyes. Chief Su, Chief Su. Tang Zheng called out loudly, but there was no response. He hurriedly finished his life's journey. Tang Zheng's emotions fluctuated and he couldn't help but sigh. He and Su Yingtian had known each other for a few months. Although they didn't meet often, the two trusted each other very much and helped each other solve many problems. Seeing Su Yingtian's tragic end, Tang Zheng felt both heartache and anger. If Xing Feng didn't get rid of him, who knew who would be the next to suffer? Moreover, Xing Feng already knew that they had survived, so he would definitely do everything he could to get rid of them. The two sides originally maintained a fragile balance. Now that the balance was broken, the conflict between the two heated up sharply and reached a white-hot stage. Either you die or I die. Tang Zheng put all the bodies of the National Security Bureau's people into Sumeru World and then set the place ablaze. The raging fire soared into the sky, and the sirens sounded in the distance. Tang Zheng and Marshall quickly left the scene. A moment later, they arrived at a dense mountain in the suburbs. After burying everyone, they returned to the city. It was early evening, and the city was already under martial law. Every street was filled with armed police officers. There were even many plainclothes officers. They were the super soldiers of the Dragon Group. All the passing cars had to be inspected, and the pedestrians were no exception. Tang Zheng frowned and said, Xing Feng's movements are really fast. He has already set up an inescapable net to search for us. Xing Feng doesn't know how many of us survived. He is most afraid that we will complain to the imperial court. If that happens, his good days will come to an end. Marshall said angrily. Tang Zheng shook his head and said, It's not that simple. You also heard what Chief Su said. If the people at the top know that we are the ones who did this, then we will definitely be punished. Moreover, the people at the top have just entrusted Xing Feng with an important task, so they might not punish him immediately. If that happens, won't people be pointing at us behind our backs and scolding the leader for not being able to see through people? Marshall's eyes lit up and said, You're saying that although the people at the top know what Xing Feng has done, they might still be indifferent and protect him? Tang Zheng sneered. Chief Su has been in the official circle all his life. He is blinded by a single leaf and does not see the true face of Lu Shan. As for us outsiders, we can see it the clearest. Marshall asked worriedly, Since the authorities choose to ignore it, what should we do? If the authorities don't want to do it, we'll do it. I don't have as many worries as them. Tang Zheng said with killing intent. In the past, the reason why he did not kill Xing Feng was because of his status as an official. If he killed him, it would cause the officials to be dissatisfied and even attack him. In addition, Su Yingtian repeatedly dissuaded him, causing him to temporarily give up on the idea, and both sides were at peace. But now, Su Yingtian was dead, and Tang Jing had guessed that the authorities might do something, so he could not just ignore it and wait for death. He had to take action. Getting rid of Xingfeng was a top priority. However, since Chief Su has given us the order, we should consider it as completing his last wish. I will first make a trip to the inner palace and see what the authorities say. Tang Jing changed his tone and said, "You're going to the inner palace at night?" Tang Jing nodded. "I've been there twice, so I'm not unfamiliar with it." "Didn't you say that there are experts in the inner palace?" Marshall asked worriedly. Tang Jing said resolutely, "Even if there are experts, I will still go. Moreover, I am already at the 4th stage of the Golden Core stage, which is equivalent to the 4th stage of the Great Master stage. Even if I were to break into the inner palace at night, I would still have the ability to protect myself." Seeing him so confident, Marshall could only agree and did not forget to remind him, "Then you should be more careful. Why don't you go home first?" "No, I want to go with you. I'll wait for you nearby. If anything happens, I'll support you," Wu Jian said. Tang Jing squeezed her hand and squeezed out a smile. "Don't worry, it'll be fine." In the night, the two of them passed through layers of checkpoints and finally arrived near the mysterious courtyard. Tang Jing wanted to break into this courtyard to find the chief and report to him about Xingfeng's actions. Under the night sky, the courtyard was exceptionally quiet. It was completely different from the hustle and bustle of the capital, as if it had come to another world. However, there were endless dangers hidden in the silence. Tang Jing did not climb over the wall. Instead, he soared into the air and steered the War Soul sword to sneak in from a high altitude. The sky was dark, which coincidentally gave Tang Jing the best camouflage. He landed on the roof without anyone noticing, and even his breathing did not make the slightest sound. At this moment, his nerves were already on high alert. The slightest movement could cause a group of people to attack him. The hidden experts of the inner palace would definitely kill him indiscriminately. After all, there were not many good people who broke into the inner palace at night. Most of them were assassins, and assassins who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Tang Jing could already clearly feel a few powerful auras lurking in the dark. He carefully avoided the other party and jumped down from the roof. In a flash, he moved along the eaves. The courtyard was not too big, so he did not have to search too hard to find the chief's location. It was easy to say, but in reality, only he knew how many hardships and dangers were hidden. If he had not been here before, he would have been completely in the dark. Moreover, he had to avoid the detection of the experts of the inner palace, which was even more difficult. He gently pushed open the window. The window made an extremely soft sound. "Shit!" he secretly shouted, but did not stop his actions. Instead, he bent his waist and went in through the window. He happened to see the chief sitting behind the desk with his head lowered, reading a book. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Outside the house, a few strong winds blew in from all directions. Tang Jing strode to the desk. The chief coincidentally raised his head. After seeing Tang Jing, a look of surprise flashed across his face. "Chief!" A voice called out from outside the house. Tang Jing nervously looked at the chief. If he were to call for help, then he would be taken hostage today. The chief's expression quickly returned to normal. He sternly said, "It's okay, you may leave." "Chief, someone entered your house." The person outside was obviously not at ease. "Leave, this is an order." The chief's tone became more serious. The person outside did not dare to disobey and retreated. However, Tang Jing still felt that they only took a few steps back. They could attack or retreat. If there was another emergency, they would definitely break in without hesitation. "Tang Jing, why are you here?" The chief frowned and asked. Tang Jing was surprised and said, "You know I'm not dead?" The chief nodded and said, "I didn't know at first. I only found out today. Xingfeng reported it." "Xingfeng?" A murderous look flashed across Tang Jing's eyes. The person outside the house clearly felt the murderous look and was ready to make a move. The chief also sensed it and frowned even more. He directly asked, "Why did you come to see me in the middle of the night?" Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously and said, "Since Xing Feng came to find you, then did he say anything about me? He was testing the other party, or perhaps Xing Feng knew a lot about him." "Of course he did. Not only you, but also Su Yingtian. The nature of what you did today is too bad." The chief's tone became even more serious. He placed his hands on the desk and was imposing without being angry. If it was anyone else who saw this kind of superior attitude and aura, they would definitely be scared speechless. However, Tang Zheng had the dragon chi and dragon might. If he were to explode out, even the other party would not be able to help but tremble, so how could he be afraid? Chapter 801. The bureau chief looked at Tang Zheng and didn't answer the question directly. Instead, he asked, "Then, do you think I should believe him? If it's a foolish person, he will naturally believe it. If it's a wise person, he will scoff at it," Tang Zheng said bluntly. Other people would be in awe of high-ranking officials, but Tang Zheng was already holding back his anger. He didn't hold back at all when he spoke. The bureau chief's eyelids twitched and returned to normal. He said earnestly, "Tang Zheng, things aren't as simple as you think. You're too young." Tang Zheng curled his lips and sneered. "Then you don't believe me? So what if I believe you?" The bureau chief stared at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze. "If you believe me, then kill Xing Feng and take revenge for those who died unjustly," Tang Zheng said firmly. The bureau chief chuckled. "Is this the result you want? The heavens are clear. Xing Feng brought this upon himself. Why can't I?" Tang Zheng retorted. "The heavens, hee." The bureau chief laughed meaningfully. "Ask Su Yingtian to come and see me. I'll tell him that I'll return everything he lost to him." The government didn't know that Su Yingtian was already dead. Tang Zheng's expression darkened. "He's dead. Greater than or equal to dead?" The bureau chief was stunned. Xing Feng's report was that Su Yingtian and his gang attacked the dragon team and escaped after killing and arson. "Yes, it's all Xing Feng's fault. So, I must get justice for him." Tang Zheng's gaze was firm. The bureau chief was slightly moved. "Nonsense. A bunch of people are fooling around. We're all from the same root. Why are you in such a hurry to kill each other?" The bureau chief slammed the desk and said angrily, "Some people don't think that we're all from the same root. We've tolerated him time and time again, but what we got in return was Xing Feng's arrogance. Not only did he abandon his comrades in the middle of the sea and flee, but now he's trying to kill his comrades. This kind of person is a scourge in this world." The bureau chief was silent, and his eyes kept changing. As a leader, he was naturally more intelligent than others. From the fact that Su Yingtian and the rest had returned to the capital safely, it had already explained many things. Xing Feng's report could not be trusted. There must have been many unknown things happening on the sea. Xing Feng had deliberately concealed the truth. But so what? The government chose to believe Xing Feng's words. If they immediately investigated him, wouldn't it be a slap to their own face? Although they were fighting tigers everywhere and controlling corruption, they could not let the government lose face. Otherwise, the gains would not make up for the losses. No one could bear this responsibility. "Tang Zheng, you go back first. After we've done our research, we'll naturally come up with a countermeasure. We won't let those people die in vain." The bureau chief comforted him. Tang Zheng was greatly disappointed. Su Yingtian was right about this result. The so-called research was just an excuse. They must have weighed the pros and cons. In the end, it was still impossible to conclude what would happen to Xing Feng. Moreover, Xing Feng had the support of a high-ranking official. He would not watch as his people were destroyed. Seeing Tang Zheng's nonchalant expression, the bureau chief's eyes turned cold. He said sternly, "Tang Zheng, Xing Feng is an official. If he has done anything wrong, the government will come to a conclusion and punish him severely. Do you understand?" What he meant was to remind Tang Zheng not to act rashly. Tang Zheng did not comment and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Seeing Tang Zheng resolutely turn and leave, The bureau chief leaned back and leaned against the leather chair. He pinched his eyebrows and thought to himself. Su Yingtian had once strongly recommended Tang Zheng and felt that the government should rope him in. This person was born and raised under the red flag. He still had feelings for the country. If he could rope in such a strong helper, it would definitely be beneficial to the country. But Tang Zheng's only flaw was that he was too undisciplined. He did not have the sense of restraint of a soldier. If he thought of something, he would do it himself. He might not even inform the government. He did not even respect the powerful officials. This was the pros and cons. If it was not used properly, there would be problems. But if it was just right, it would be of great use. But the government had never come to a conclusion on how to treat Tang Zheng. Seeing Tang Zheng's performance today, the bureau chief regretfully shook his head and drew a big X on the paper. Outside the courtyard, Tang Zheng saw Marshall. Marshall immediately asked about the situation. Tang Zheng shook his head with a serious expression and said, "It's not optimistic. It seems that the government will not touch Xingfeng for the time being." "Then what should we do?" Tang Zheng was silent, but he had already made up his mind. The government would not care, but he would not forget Su Yingtian's dying instructions. "Let's go home first. We've been out for so long this time. They must be very worried," Tang Zheng said. When the two of them pushed open the door, everyone was stunned. Their expressions were different, but Nana was the first to react. Her figure flashed and she flew into his embrace. She hugged his neck and rubbed her head non-stop. She was overjoyed and said, "Brother, you're finally back. Nana missed you so much." Looking at her delicate face, the killing intent in his heart was temporarily thrown to the back of his mind. He carried her and walked towards the crowd. Seeing that everyone's expression was strange, he could not help but ask, "Why are you looking at me like that?" "What?" Fang Shishi's tears flowed out of her eyes as she tightly hugged Tang Zheng. She and Nana occupied his left and right. "Well, I knew you weren't dead. It's great that you're back." Tang Zheng was confused. "Someone said I was dead?" Fang Shishi nodded with tears of joy. "The government said you died in battle. I knew they were lying. You promised me that you would come back. You wouldn't lie to me." Tang Zheng was shocked. The government had actually judged him as a dead man. They must have been under a lot of pressure. He patted her back and said guiltily, "It's all my fault. Don't cry. Didn't I come back safe and sound?" He gently wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. He was extremely distressed. He looked up at the others and found that apart from the Empyrean fairy, everyone else's eyes were red. This was especially true for Lu Qingmin. Her eyes were filled with tears and her legs were trembling. She wanted nothing more than to throw herself into Tang Zheng's arms. But she resisted. After all, there were so many people present and her identity was too special. Princess and wiped the corner of her eyes and revealed a relieved smile. "Master said before that you were an unkillable cockroach." She was right. Mu Hongyan's body went soft and sank into the sofa. During this period of time, she had been under more pressure than anyone else. This was because she had a heavy burden on her shoulders. She had to wake up early and sleep late every day. She was so busy. Perhaps, only when she was busy could she forget about Tang Zheng. Now that she saw him standing in front of her alive, her heart fiercely beat. Many emotions intertwined and mixed together. "I'm really sorry for making everyone worry," Tang Zheng said guiltily. "Your safe return is the most important. There's no need to say these words. Yes, everyone is happy that you're safe." Everyone was talking at once, but it was difficult to express the joy in their hearts. Only the Empyrean fairy, Fu Yao, was the calmest. She glanced at him indifferently and then turned her attention to the TV. This was because she had never believed the news of Tang Zheng's death. Fang Shishi was reluctant to leave Tang Zheng. She kept hugging his arm as if she was afraid that in the blink of an eye, he would disappear again. After confirming that all this was not a dream, her heart felt a lot more at ease. The corner of her mouth hung a smile of regaining what she had lost. Everyone gathered together. Tang Zheng asked in detail about what had happened during this period of time. When he learned that his death had caused so many disturbances, he could not help but sigh. If he did not show up, He was afraid that there would really be a big problem. Those who were lurking in the dark would really not be able to hold back and take action. Perhaps it would even endanger their safety. Sister Mu, you've worked hard during this period of time. You've supported all the matters of the group. Tang Jing said sincerely. Mu Hongyan recovered her mood. She smiled faintly and said, "This is not just my credit. There is the support of all the colleagues in the company. In addition, in the end, I need the help of the Yan family, Yi Tianlei and Qingmei. Only then can I persist and let the company operate normally." Tang Jing nodded. He already knew that Yi Tianlei and Lu Qingmei had also joined the group. In fact, he was not very relieved that Lu Qingmei was working in other places. After all, the workplace was like a battlefield. There were too many traps. He was not willing to let Lu Qingmei take risks. But in the past, she did a good job, so it was not easy to persuade her to come to his group. This time, she actually took the initiative to join, which was an unexpected surprise. Tang Zheng's head warmed. He nodded towards Lu Qingmei and said, "Sister Mei, thank you." His relationship with Lu Qingmei was not made public, so it was not good to be too intimate in front of everyone. Lu Qingmei suppressed the impulse in her heart and pretended to be calm as she said, "This is what I should do." Finished speaking, she looked at Tang Zheng and smiled affectionately. All the words and affection were vividly expressed in this smile. Tang Zheng understood her smile and wished that he could immediately hug her tightly in his arms. Fang Shishir looked at the two thoughtfully but did not say anything. She was a smart girl and remembered everything. Of course, she guessed some things but did not point it out. As long as Tang Zheng was by her side, it was the greatest satisfaction. Subconsciously, she hugged Tang Zheng tighter and let his arm press on her chest. "Brother, Nana is also very powerful. I didn't slack off. Master often praises me for my great progress." Seeing others chatting enthusiastically with Tang Zheng, Nana did not want to fall behind and said, "Really?" Tang Zheng pretended to be surprised and asked. In fact, when he entered the door, he saw the changes in her body. She was already a real cultivator. At such a young age, she had already reached the 6th grade of the foundation establishment stage. It must be known that she had not been apprenticed for long. Even Tang Jing did not have such a fast cultivation speed. He could not help but admire her. If he had taught Nana at the beginning, he would not have such a good effect. The Empyrean fairy could be said to have devoted all her efforts to Nana. A famous teacher produces a brilliant student. This sentence was really true. Nana's progress could be said to be heaven-defying. It seemed that the Empyrean fairy was not lying. Nana's physique was indeed suitable for cultivation. However, although her cultivation was high, she was still young, so she did not have much attack power. Chapter 802. Fang Shishir suppressed her shyness and invited Tang Jing to her room. Tang Jing certainly would not refuse. Seeing her tear-stained face, he felt very distressed. However, he still took the time to sneak into Lu Qingmei's room. The two people tightly hugged each other and kissed passionately. Then Lu Qingmei buried her head in his chest and told him about her lovesickness. "Okay, I'll go out quickly. Otherwise, someone will be waiting anxiously." After being warm for a while, Lu Qingmei sourly said, "Sister Mei." Tang Zheng's heart was sour. "Don't act like a little girl. You are a man, I understand. Go, don't tell me you don't even listen to your teacher's words." Lu Qingmei deliberately said with a straight face. Tang Jing hugged her and gave her a French kiss before slipping out. Fang Shishir had already finished washing up and was lying on the bed. Seeing him tiptoeing in, she pointed to the bathroom and said, "Go take a bath." Tang Jing quickly took a bath and got into bed. Fang Shishir was like a kitten, docilely lying on his chest and gently rubbing his chest. Tang Zheng's hand also moved around her smooth skin. "Your student status has been cancelled. You can go to the school tomorrow to restore it." Fang Shishir felt the big hand passing over every inch of her skin and said in a low voice. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment and said, "The school's action is quite fast." He paused for a moment and said, "Since it has been cancelled, there is no need." No need? Feng Shishir propped up her arms. The scenery of her chest was clearly visible as she stared at him and asked. Yes, I didn't go to the university for any certificate. It was just a kind of experience and to complete my grandfather's wish. But now my life's focus is not on the school. Moreover, I feel that the matter of the demon race is not that simple. 100 Faces Star-Lord has not appeared. I don't know what kind of conspiracy he is brewing. Since the school has revoked my student status, then I'll take this opportunity to end my university career. Have you thought it through? Feng Shishir asked hesitantly. Most of her attention was still on her studies. She couldn't completely understand Tang Zheng's thoughts, but she respected his choice. I've already decided. Feng Shishir didn't try to persuade him any further. All right then. Tang Zheng attacked her. Gradually, Feng Shishir's skin became hot. She hugged his neck, her eyes were full of lust, and her breath smelled like orchids. She whispered, "Want me?" Spring nights were short, but many people could not sleep in the endless night. Xing Feng was flustered and exasperated, his face ashen. The ground was a mess. Who knew how many things had been destroyed? The others lowered their heads and kept quiet out of fear. Rice buckets, a bunch of rice buckets. So many people failed to deal with those few people. Water King and Wind King even died. Truly useless rice buckets. Xing Feng was like an enraged wild beast, roaring angrily again and again. The Thunder King's face was dispirited. He wanted to say something but hesitated. This matter was out of his expectations. He hadn't thought that these people would actually not die and even return to the capital. When he had first heard this news, he had been shocked. However, after hearing Xing Feng methodically arrange for an ambush to kill these people, his heart settled back into his stomach. However, the final result was that the dragon group was almost completely annihilated. It didn't matter if some people died, but the other party had still escaped. This was a big problem. Xing Feng glanced at the Thunder King and said, "If you have something to say, say it." Group leader, now that Tang Zheng and the others have escaped, what do we do? The Thunder King asked cautiously. By the time you know how to run, it'll be too late. Xing Feng pointed above and said, "The higher-ups have already sent news. Tang Zheng has already gone to see the chief, and the two of them have been talking behind closed doors for a long time." The Thunder King gasped. Xing Feng actually had eyes and ears in the inner palace. This was too amazing and even more so, disgraceful. However, he was immediately scared out of his wits. His legs went weak and he said in a trembling voice, "The chief already knows? Then aren't we finished?" "How can I, Xing Feng, be finished just like that?" Xing Feng said resolutely. "I've always told you to be smarter. Why are you still so stupid? If the chief wanted to touch me, we would have long been surrounded. How could we still be standing here unscathed?" The Thunder King thought about it. That was indeed the case. Confused, he asked, "Then what exactly is going on?" Xing Feng's expression fluctuated. "I've only just been promoted. Even if the higher-ups know of my actions, they can't possibly deal with me so quickly. This would be slapping their own faces. The higher-ups care about face the most, and they definitely won't do something like slapping their own faces. Thus, even if Tang Jing goes to lodge a complaint, I'm still safe for the time being." Xing Feng was indeed a wily old fox in the officialdom. He was well versed in the ways of officialdom, and his guess was actually pretty close to the mark. The Thunder King was still on tenterhooks. But they'll definitely settle the score at an opportune time. At that time, we'll be in trouble. Xing Feng laughed coldly. Settle the score at an opportune time? They'll have to wait. The Thunder King looked at him in suspicion, seemingly deep in thought. Tell the subordinates to keep a close eye on him. It's not good for Tang Jing to stay here for long. He must be eliminated, Xing Feng ordered. Yes. The Thunder King nodded in acknowledgement. At the same time, the Song family gathered together, all of their expressions unsightly. The Song family had many eyes and ears, and they were all shocked when they heard that Tang Jing wasn't dead. Tang Zheng's return to the capital meant that the Song family's good days were about to come to an end. Song Yu's injuries were more or less healed. His face was ashen, and he gritted his teeth without saying a word. Song Jianan glanced at him and said, Is there any news from Sword Pavilion? I just received news that Sword Pavilion has already sent people to the capital to pick up eldest senior brother's body in a few days, Song Yu said. Who did Sword Pavilion send? Song Jianan's expression changed as he asked. Song Yu shook his head. I don't know for now. Song Jianan let out a long sigh and said, if the people from Sword Pavilion are strong enough, then we can work together to get rid of Tang Zheng. Then the Song family will be safe. Otherwise, we can't just go back to hiding, right? The dignified head of the Song family was actually living like a mouse, hiding here and there and not daring to show his face. This was not only sullen, but also a great humiliation. Song Yu nodded firmly. You're right. I hope Sword Pavilion sends an expert this time. It's best if His Excellency Sword God comes in person, Song Jianan said. Many of the other well-informed people found out that Tang Jing did not die that night and returned safely. Many of the people who were ready to make a move quieted down. Tang Zheng's name was well known enough that no one dared to look down on him. Similarly, many people had already learned about the return of the demon race. Naturally, they were shocked. But because of the false news brought back by Xingfeng, these people thought that the demon race had been wiped out and did not pay attention to this matter. The next day, Tang Zheng, Mu Hongyan, and Lu Qingmei came to the group together. As soon as they appeared, they caused a big sensation. The ordinary staff did not know Tang Zheng's identity, but the core staff knew that Tang Zheng was their real boss. When they saw him standing in front of them alive, they were all shocked. Then their morale was greatly boosted, and their hearts were put back into their stomachs. Tang Zheng's purpose of this trip was to appease people, so he had to make this trip. After listening to a simple report, he found that all the business was proceeding normally. Although the situation in Europe was not satisfactory, Tang Jing did not care too much. Those European royal families had gone back on their words. He would settle this account with them later. Tang Linger was not in the company. It was said that she had recently participated in the shooting of a movie and was in full swing with the crew. Tang Zheng was slightly relieved. Tang Linger did not know about Tang Zheng's death, so she was not distracted. Her career was rising rapidly and she had already gained some fame in the country. After chatting with Yi Tianlei for a while, Yi Tianlei earnestly asked Tang Zheng to take a look at Yi Dingdang. Tang Zheng's heart thumped as he asked, "What happened to Dingdang?" During this period of time, she did not eat or drink. She missed you very much. It was as if her soul had been taken away. Yi Tianlei thought of his daughter's state and could not help but sigh. Tang Jing felt a pain in his heart. Damn Xingfeng, spreading false news of his death and implicating so many people. He could not help but blame himself. He had thought too simply. So many people were worried about him, but he had gone missing. He was really too irresponsible. After leaving the company, Tang Jing anxiously went to Yi Dingdong's new home. This new home was completely incomparable to the Ye family's courtyard house or ordinary balances villa. It was completely an ordinary family of 3 with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. It was Tang Zheng's first time coming to the Ye family. After knocking on the door, he saw Feng Xinyang. Feng Xinyang opened her eyes in surprise and was overjoyed. "Little handsome, you are not dead." "Ha, I knew it. Heaven helps the worthy. How could you die? Those gossiping guys are too hateful." During this period of time, her daughter had suffered and suffered because of the news of Tang Zheng's death. She saw it with her own eyes and felt pain in her heart, but there was no cure. When she saw Tang Jing standing in front of her alive, she knew that all the pain was over. "And Feng, is Dingdang here?" Yes, coming quickly. She is in the bedroom. I will take you there." Feng Xinyang's eyes were red. She hurriedly led Tang Jing to Dingdong's door. "Dingdang, come out quickly. Look who is here." Feng Xinyang knocked on the door and said, "I don't want to see anyone." Yi Dingdong's weak voice came out. Tang Jing had a headache. How did Yi Dingdang, who used to be lively and cheerful, become so weak? "I will go out for a while. You accompany her." Feng Xinyang patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and whispered. Then she left the house. Tang Zheng stood in front of the door, took a deep breath, and said, "Ding Ning, is it me?" The room fell into a dead silence. "Ding Dang, why are you not talking? Open the door." Creak. The door was suddenly pulled open. A thin figure rushed out. Her hair was a little messy, she looked tired, and her eyes were dim. But when she saw Tang Zheng, she gradually regained her spirit. Yi Ding Dang stared straight at Tang Zheng. Her tears were like 2 strings of pearls. Her lips twitched, and she could hardly believe what she saw. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.